Krazy Kow Saves the World. Well, almost. By Jeremy Strong. Read by Tony Robinson. One, How I Gave Birth to a Cow. I'm going to be famous. My name will be known all over the world. People will say, "Look, there's Jamie Fink. I've met Jamie Fink. Let's ask him for his autograph." And I'll say, "Yeah, sure. Have 3. You'll see. Everyone will see. Even my big bro. Yeah, that'll show him. He thinks he's so clever, but when I'm rich and famous, he'll look like a widdly-weeny ant next to me. He'll be nothing. When he wants something, he'll have to come to me. And I'll say, maybe." And you know what's going to make me rich and famous? A cow. Yeah, a cow. Her name is Krazy Kow. She's fantastic, Krazy Kow. She's got a lumpy head, a lumpy back, and wobbly lumps underneath. She can talk, too, and she's got a Swiss Army udder. She has, really. You know what a Swiss Army penknife's like, with lots of gadgets? Well, Krazy Kow's udder doesn't just squirt milk. She also has a flamethrower, rocket launcher, water cannon, high-beam spotlight, mega-powerful vacuum cleaner, and mirror for checking her makeup, plus a small prongy thing for getting stones out of horses' hooves. She's got 4 stomachs, too, and that means she can do 4 separate burps, all at the same time and on different notes. Did you know cows have 4 stomachs? It's true, I'm not kidding. And she can do karate, just in case things get close and personal. Krazy Kow lives in a house with Mr. and Mrs. Spottiswoode and their 2 children, a boy called Bromley and a girl called Gosforth. Bromley has got football wallpaper all over his bedroom walls and a United duvet cover and a lampshade like a football. Actually, his head's a bit like a football too, nothing in it but air. Gosforth's bedroom is full of pop stars. Not real ones, just photographs. Gosforth kisses every one of them before she goes to sleep at night. Krazy Kow doesn't have a bedroom because that would be really silly. Everybody knows cows don't have bedrooms. Ha ha, no. She sleeps under the dining table. She curls up beneath the table with her blanket and teddy. Of course, she's not real, and the Spottiswoode family aren't real either. I made them all up. They're cartoon characters inside my head rushing about. I'm always sketching them. I've drawn cows everywhere, especially on my school books. My teachers think I've got cows on the brain, and I suppose that in an odd way they're right. I have. I reckon Krazy Kow's going to be on TV one day, and then she'll be the most famous cow in the world. There'll be Krazy Kow T-shirts, and everyone will want them. There'll be Krazy Kow mugs, and everyone will drink from them. There'll be Krazy Kow duvet covers, and everyone will sleep under them. Everyone except my big brother, but then he's stupid. And best of all, everyone will do what Krazy Kow says. And because I'm telling her what to say, it means that everyone will be doing what I tell them. Awesome. Of course, she'll only tell people good things because she's a good cow. Baddie cows are the pits. You can easily tell if a cow's bad because baddie cows always have plastic tags with numbers attached to their ears, which shows that they've been in cow prison for being bad. Krazy Kow is good. In fact, she's a cow superhero and eco-warrior. She whizzes about preventing ecological disasters, saving the world, and stuff like that. Maybe she'll save Big Bro, too. I don't know. Maybe. Now, perhaps you're beginning to think this guy is mad. What is all this stuff about cows sleeping under tables and being put in cow prison for being bad? I guess I'd better tell you how I thought up Krazy Kow and why. At school, we're taking part in a mega environmental competition. Schools right across the country are entering. The winning school gets a whole room full of computers, and the winning project gets shown on TV. The person who comes up with the winning idea gets a digital video camera and film editing bank. We are talking seriously big prizes here, and I was desperate to get my hands on that DV camera. You see, all I've ever wanted to do is make real films with real actors and explosions and cars crashing down cliff sides, bounce, bounce, bang, and hurricanes and poisonous snake pits and alien invaders with boiling green jelly for blood and a nasty evil villain with one eye and steel teeth and claw hands and giant crocodiles and volcanoes, erupting living dinosaurs and all that sort of stuff. Taking part in the environmental competition was Mrs. Drew's idea. She's our head teacher. She's a great one for saving the planet. You should see her car. She's got this tiny little thing that she drives around. It does 1,000,000 miles to a gallon of petrol, she says. In fact, I don't think it has an engine at all. I think that each tyre has got one of those rotating hamster wheels strapped to it, and she puts hamsters inside and makes them run as fast as possible. She's got a 4-hamster-powered car. I don't know what she does if they're asleep. Anyway, the back window of Mrs. Drew's car is plastered with do-good stickers. You know the sort of thing. Save the whales, stop cutting down the rainforests, don't eat tigers, ban earwig hunting, be nice to bees, hum to them, save water, bath with your neighbour. Mrs. Drew is really kind to animals. It's just children she doesn't like. No, I made that up. She does like them, really. I remember we were in assembly once, and she told us that she had always wanted to work with animals, and that's why she became a teacher. I like Mrs. Drew. She's a laugh. Anyhow, Mrs. Drew told us about this competition, and my ears perked up immediately. If there's one thing that a great film director needs, it's a camera so that he can shoot films. So I thought to myself, I've got to win this. But winning the camera wasn't going to be easy. I knew that to have a chance of success, I'd have to do something very special. And first of all, I'd have to make sure that my idea was the one the school would choose. I reckoned almost everyone would either write something about the environment or they'd paint a poster. And that was when I had my first absolutely staggering idea. I would make a film, a proper film. It would have to be the biggest secret ever because I didn't want anybody else to get the same idea. I don't think anyone in our school had ever made a real film before. I was so excited I had to tell someone. I had to say it out loud. So, do you know what I did? I got inside my wardrobe, I pulled the door in close so that it wasn't quite shut, and I stood there in the dark, imagining I was in a room full of people, and I told the darkness how brilliant my idea to make a film was. I realise this might sound strange, but I like talking in the dark. You can say anything you want in the dark. And then someone knocked on the wardrobe. It was Big Bro. It would be. I slowly pushed the door open, and Matt gazed at me. "What are you doing?" I stood there amongst my clothes. "Nothing." "You were talking to someone." "Oh, yeah, like I've got someone in the wardrobe with me," I said smartly. "You're mad," said Matt. "So are you, then," I snapped back. We have these really neat arguments sometimes. Matt snorted and pushed me back into the wardrobe. I tripped on a pile of trainers and sat down. The door swung back and clicked shut. I pushed against it, and sure enough, it wouldn't open. "Matt! The door's shut!" There was no answer. "Matt, stop fooling. I know you're out there. Open the door. Matt! Matt!" I clambered to my feet, still shouting. I hammered on the inside of the door, and the wardrobe rocked unsteadily. I carried on shouting and hammering, and all at once the wardrobe toppled forwards and slumped at an angle across my bed. I ended up lying in a heap, completely entangled in clothes and wire coat hangers. I tried to get up and shake myself free, but the noise was terrifying. It sounded like the 100-legged coat-hanger beast from Mars falling down the stairs. I gave up. Everything went quiet. I settled back on a pile of clothes in the dark, and it was surprisingly peaceful. I lay there thinking about the film I'd make. The thing was, I needed a really good main character to fight ecological battles, someone like Superman or Batman. Then I thought, why not have a character that nobody would think of? Maybe not even a person. An alien? An animal? And that was when I had my second brainwave. Oh, yes! An animal! A super creature! By this time, my brain was humming into sixth gear. This was fantastic. There were footsteps outside. I called out, "Hello? Is that you, Matt?" "Jamie?" It was my big sister Gemma. She's 14, but thinks she's at least 19. "Where are you?" "In the wardrobe." "How'd you get in there?" "Just help me out, will you?" Gemma struggled to push the wardrobe upright. The door clicked open, and I tumbled out, festooned with a clattering shower of coat hangers. Gemma looked mildly astonished, which is quite easy for her because of the vast amount of dark makeup she splatters all over her face. Behind her was Matt, laughing his head off. I wish it had fallen off. Gemma helped me to my feet. "What are you doing in there?" "Thinking," I answered. "What about?" I smiled at them both. "A cow. A cow with a Swiss Army udder." 2. Reasons to be cheerful, stroke miserable. Reasons to be cheerful. 1. Can't think of any. 2. Oh yes, I'm going to be rich and famous. 3. That's the lot. Reasons to be miserable. 1. My dad likes football. 2. My mum likes football. 3. Big bro is a football. 4. I don't like football. 5. They think I'm stupid. I'm not. Anyhow, I've got news for everyone out there in the big wide world. It's okay if you don't like football. That's right, it's not compulsory. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with football as a game. I don't mind watching football. I just don't like playing football. What gets me is all those people who seem to think that boys must like playing football. Why? Don't ask me. The boys in my class are mad about it. They've got favourite teams, even though half of them keep changing their minds. As soon as their team hits a losing streak, they change sides. So much for loyalty. And they go on and on and on and on. Break time comes, and off they shoot to the playground. What shall we do? Play footy. Last week, I suggested something else. I said, let's pretend we're making a film with loads of special stunts and stuff. They stopped dead and gawped at me like I was the beast from the bubbling bog. Then one of them said, I know, let's play footy. Yeah, they all shouted. They're so imaginative. So I'm getting a bit fed up. I suppose that if I was any good at footy, I might enjoy it more, but I'm hopeless. I'm the sort of person who takes a massive kick at the ball, completely misses and falls over backwards in the mud. Not to worry, I'll show them one day. When they're nobodies, they'll be watching one of my multi-Oscar winning films on telly, and they'll turn to their wives and their own little kids and they'll say, wow, did you see that? It says directed by Jamie Fink. I was at school with him. Big Bro and Dad are football freaks. They're always trying to get me to join in. But what's the point if all you do is fall flat on your back and bang your head so hard that all your teeth rattle and your ears fall off? I played with them at the weekend. They put me in goal, and you know what? I don't think they were trying to get the ball in the net at all. They were just using me as target practice. Bam! The first shot spun me round like Wibbly-Wobbly Man. Bang! The second shot knocked my feet from under me and I fell flat on my face. I was just getting up, facing the wrong way, of course, and wondering where I was, when BAM! The third shot torpedoed into my bum and catapulted me into the net. I was left hanging there like a dead spider. Sometimes I think they only want to play football with me because I'm no good. After all, when I'm playing, I make them look like geniuses. Mind you, Matt is pretty good. He's being eyed up for the county team. I just wish he wouldn't go on about it. Anyone would think he'd just been nominated for an Oscar. There's something else I don't understand, and it's this. The girls are just as bad. I'll swear most of them aren't the least bit interested in football, but who do they all like? Who do they all fancy? Tom Hardy. Who is the best footballer in the school? Tom Hardy. Who's team captain? Tom Hardy. Who's Big Bro's best mate? Tom Hardy. Who's got a brain like a bird dropping? Both of them. You might have guessed that I don't like Tom much. It's not because he plays football so well, it's because of Rebecca. She's in our class. How can I describe her? Well, she's tall, long legs, suntanned, blonde, hazel eyes. Beautiful. I guess that's the best word. Forget about anything else I said and just concentrate on beautiful. Maybe even stunning. She'd make a wonderful film star. Rebecca's got a brain too. She writes fantastic stories. I mean, they're so good. Our teacher, Mr. Oldman, reads them out to us. She uses really long words like infatuated and phantasmagoric. So Rebecca is beautiful and bright. Does she speak to me? No. Does she speak to Tom Hardy? Yes. She even talks to my brother, for goodness sake. She smiles at them. I mean, they're not even in our class. They're a year older. Anyhow, what does she see in Tom Hardy? All he does is kick a ball about very well. It's not much of a claim, is it? Look at me! I'm stuffed full of brilliant ideas. My stories are every bit as good as Rebecca's. So, maybe Mr. Oldman doesn't read mine out, but that's because he doesn't understand them, doesn't appreciate them. The last story I wrote for him was about Krazy Kow. He pointed out the title he'd given the class was My Weekend. But that's what I did, Mr. Oldman. I spent all weekend thinking about Krazy Kow. Jamie, you were not supposed to write about what you were thinking, but about what you did. Did you do anything over the weekend? I nearly told him that I got a football at my backside, but stopped myself just in time. Your problem, Jamie, is that you live in a fantasy world. I nearly told him that fantasy was a lot better than the real world I lived in, but stopped myself just in time. You spend all day staring out of the window. You never do any work. I nearly told him that my head's working all the time. It's full of brilliant ideas, but stopped myself just in time. When are you going to write a proper story? I was stunned. I'd spent all weekend writing the best story ever. You can see for yourself. 3. Krazy Kow's first adventure. Scene 1. Imagine a slug as big as a wardrobe. Give the slug a fat face and 2 chubby arms. Now dress it in a black suit with collar and tie. The trousers only have 1 leg. The front of the suit is shiny with slime. The creature looks much like an everyday businessman, except that he's very fat, very slimy, and basically a big slug with arms. You are looking at Gob-Yob Badmash, the Dark Contaminator. Menacing music, like spooky footsteps approaching. Gob-Yob Badmash slithers from his black throne and slides forward to peer over the edge of the Mappa Monstrosa, a living map of the entire world, spread in a huge flat circle, floating on a sheen of shifting mercury, a deadly poison. The Mappa Monstrosa is in some ways like a crystal ball, in that one can look upon it and see what is happening. Gob-Yob Badmash uses the mapper to watch his plans of world destruction slowly taking place. Hee! What a horrible villain he is, with his plan to destroy the world and his pockets full of wriggling worms. Gob-Yob likes worms. He eats them like thin, slippery sweets. Bit by bit, Gobyob is also eating away at the earth. Across Asia, he's set fires that burn away the last remaining forests. Sizzle, sizzle. Across Europe, he's poisoning the land with pesticides, bringing about the writhing agony of millions of insects, birds and beasts through pesticide poisoning. Spush! Die, birdies, die, beasties. Across America, he watches as people slowly foul their own air with the pollution of 1 billion car exhausts from their own cars. Brum, brum, cough, splutter, splatter, ah, thump. Sound effect of body falling down dead. Gobyob gives a high-pitched giggle and turns to his sidekick, Secretary Snurch. People are so greedy, they don't even care if it means their own death. People are stupid, oh Dark Contaminator, agrees Secretary Snurch. What will you do today to add to their misery? Gobyob gazes down upon Mappa Monstrosa and gives another high giggle. It's such a long time since we had a nuclear disaster, don't you think? Such a long time, sighs Secretary Snurch happily. I think, how about Australia? Let's do Australia. We'll cause such a mess. A little fire in a big reactor, and oh dear, there goes half the population. And the radiation, Secretary Snurch points out, it will spread. It will. How lovely. And we'll have a little hurricane, just to stir things up a bit and move them along nicely. I'm going to enjoy today. Prepare the chaos computer, Snurch, and send down the mashmen. Gobyob Badmash slithers back to his throne, closes his eyes, and dreams of unnatural disasters, while 100 mashmen in their black tights and polo-neck sweaters advance, all creepily sneakily, upon the doomed Australian nuclear reactor. Scene 2. In the Spottiswoode home, Krazy Kow is quietly doing a yoga handstand behind the sofa. Bromley's watching a football match on the television, leaping up and down on the sofa and yelling his head off. Come on, United! Give them grief! Foul! Kill the ref! Send in the troops! You seem a trifle overexcited, observes Krazy Kow from her upside-down position. Do you think you could stop bouncing quite so hard? You're making all my bits wobble, and it's rather uncomfortable. But United are losing, screams Bromley, red with effort. So I see, says Krazy Kow calmly. I have noticed in these games that when one side wins, the other side loses. Bromley stops in mid-bounce and falls back on the sofa. He gives Krazy Kow a deeply puzzled look. Bromley Spottiswoode has 3 facial expressions. He can do deeply puzzled, self-explanatory, rah, rage, and wow, I'm excited. You guessed it. His most common look is definitely deeply puzzled. Is he based on my very own big bro? Would I do such a thing? Of course not. But of course one side loses when the other side wins, grunts Bromley. Then why go off your head about it? Asks Krazy quietly. You know it's going to happen one way or the other. Because United are not supposed to lose, roars Bromley, who's now doing expression number 2. The door opens and Big Sister swirls into the room. Gosforth has painted her lips deep purple. Her false eyelashes are so huge and heavy that she can barely open her eyes. She slowly makes her way across the room, arms stretched out like an ancient Egyptian mummy, as she stumbles into the furniture and bangs into the sofa. Is she based on my big sister? Would I do such a thing? Of course not. Watch yourself, yells Bromley, not taking his eyes off the flickering screen. Krazy Kow glances up at Gosforth, and her big pink tongue almost falls out of her mouth with alarm. Goodness, Gosforth, you did give me a shock. Gosforth smiles a happy purple smile. Yeah, I look great, don't I? Meep, 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 meep. The red light sitting on top of the telly suddenly begins to flash and the alarm sounds. The screen flickers and a special report comes in. Calling Krazy Kow, calling Krazy Kow. This is the International Emergency Help Somebody Do Something Quickly Committee. We have a major nuclear disaster in Australia. I hate it when that happens, screams Bromley. Now I won't know if United lost. You can always find out later, Krazy Kow points out. Later is too late, Bromley bellows, pummeling the sofa with his fists. Well, I'm afraid there is a world disaster going on, and I must go and sort it out, says Krazy Kow. I don't care about world disasters. I want to know if United lost. That's the biggest disaster ever. If I don't sort this out, then there'll be no United or anything else. Krazy Kow frowns. See what it says? Nuclear reactor on fire in Australia, and it's going to explode. The superhero leaps to her feet. I must go there immediately. This is a job for Krazy Kow. To the bathroom and beyond. Very exciting music. The Krazy Kow theme tune, soon to be a best-selling #1 hit. Dooby-doodle-doo, diddle-diddle-dee, diddly-dumby, diddly-dumby, weedle-deedle-dee, etc., etc. Scene 3. Krazy Kow hurries upstairs to the bathroom and locks herself in. She slaps on some underleg deodorant and brushes her teeth. She combs the chunky bit between her ears, does a quick flip with the lipstick, tosses her crazy cape behind her shoulders, pulls on her pink diamante eye mask to make sure that nobody can recognise her, opens the window and gets stuck halfway through. Sound effect of something like squeaky cork being pulled from bottle. I keep telling them to get this window enlarged. She pants, at last squeezing through. Pop! And with a whiz, and a pat, and a supersonic bang, she's on her way to the Southern Hemisphere. Like a rocket into the blue, she's black and white, she's Krazy Moo. Scene 4. The fire is raging furiously. It seems to come from every part of the reactor complex, and the fire units can hardly get near it. Helicopters fly overhead, clatter, clatter, spraying water uselessly. Splish, splash, splosh. It's going to explode, cries the fire chief. We shall all die. What's that in the sky? Yells the reactor's director. It looks like a meteor. A meteor and a reactor fire, moans the fire chief. I want my mummy. It's not a meteor, it's Superman. No, it's Wonder Woman. No, it's Battle Boy, Glitter Girl, Marvel Moggy, Dippy Dog. I don't know who it... Wait, it's Krazy Kow. Brilliant, yells the director. Krazy Kow has come to save us. General fanfare for KK. Da-da, da-da, da-da. A huge cheer comes up from the crowd as Krazy Kow zooms overhead. Whoosh! She flashes across the sky, trailing sparkling cowpats behind her. She dives into the nearby sea and sucks up a huge amount of water. Whizzing back to the stricken reactor, she takes aim. Her amazing udder spins wildly, clicks into position, and a moment later, a thunderous cascade of water gushes in every direction. Millions of gallons crash down upon the reactor. Splurge! The flames sizzle. The flames hiss. The flames die. Another great cheer from the soaking crowd. Some of them fall to their knees. The fire's out! The reactor isn't going to explode! Krazy Kow has saved us! Thank you! Thank you, Krazy Kow! Krazy Kow lands in front of the director, the fire chief, and the crowd as they press forward to thank her. It's only my job, she says modestly, carelessly tossing her cape over one haunch. Someone had to do it, and today it was me. Now I have a message for you all, so listen carefully. This is what Krazy Kow says to you. I am the cow. You are the cow, answered the crowd. Scene 5. Gobyob Badmash watches the Mappa Monstrosa in despair. He beats his fists upon his slimy chest. Snurch, who is this little creature that dares to upset my plans for world destruction? Oh, Dark Contaminator, that is Krazy Kow. A cow? One of those lumpy creatures that give milk and cheese and double cream? Yes, a great one. She appears to be some kind of superhero sent to thwart your evil plans for turning Earth into planet pollution. Gobyob slumps back upon his throne. I have been foiled by a doughy dung-dolloper, he seethed slowly. So, we shall see. You may be the cow, but I am the Prince of Pestilence, and I shall see you wiped from the face of this earth if it's the last thing I do. Krazy Kow, your fate is sealed. Camera closes on Gobyob Badmash, looking extremely evil and mightily menacing, slowly slurping on a very long, wriggling worm. More menacing music. Twing, 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 pashing. It's gonna make a brilliant film, and I just know that I'm gonna be famous. I don't understand how Mr. Oldman can't see what a fantastic story it is. I mean, surely he didn't really want to know what everyone had done over the weekend. Answer, they played footy. What a surprise. 4. The Queen of the Night. The bathroom door opens. Out steps a strange creature, half-human, half-alien space thing from afar, something that's wriggled down a wormhole from the farthest reaches of a parallel universe. It stands in the doorway, blinking in the light like a startled bat. It's dressed in black from head to toe, cobwebby black. Long black hair hangs down the sides of a moon-pale face. Purple lips pout. Dark eyes stare like tarantulas. This is my sister Gemma, dressed like the Queen of the Night. I call her that because she nearly always shrouds herself in black and wanders round the place like a small loose bit of the night sky that's broken off and somehow come to lodge in our house. Now, you're probably thinking, Gosforth, Gemma is just like Gosforth. Well, of course she is. That's half the fun of making all this stuff up. You make up things in your head about all the people you know, especially the people you don't like much. Then you make things happen to them. It's great fun. Having said that, I like Gemma, even though she's a bit odd. I mean, she dresses like someone who wants to dance in graveyards at midnight and drink bat's blood. She thinks it makes her look interesting and intense. Mum and Dad are always going on at her. They tell her she looks like a ghoul. Big Bro thinks she looks like a ghoul. I think she looks like a ghoul, but I can't say that, because then I'd be agreeing with Mum and Dad and Big Bro. Anyhow, I like ghouls. I'm going to make films with ghouls in them. I could make Gemma a star. Here she comes, drifting down the darkened stairway, her pale face reflecting the moonlight, her white eyes staring. What terrible thing is it that makes her walk like a horrified zombie? Has she done the dark deed? And what is it she holds in her hands that seems so laden with doom? Is it a smoking pistol? Ah, run for it! Just a sec. It's okay. It's her hairdryer. Oh no, not more split ends. Ah! Amazingly, although Gemma looks like a ghoul, most of the time she's also an air cadet, and she goes to air cadets twice a week. The cadets have a special training area next to our school. One evening she has training, and on another she goes to band practice. She plays the trumpet. She wears a uniform with a beret and a badge, and she puts highly polished shoes on her feet, and off she goes to train or blow her trumpet. This is what I find odd about Gemma. The air cadet and the Queen of the Night are like two different people, but underneath they're both still Gemma. I reckon the only reason Gemma goes to air cadets is because of Justin. You could say that Justin is her boyfriend, only she won't admit it. She says, "We play in the band together, that's all." Justin plays the triangle. Apparently it's more difficult than it looks, so Gemma reckons. She says he's the best triangle player they have. I asked her how many triangle players there were in the band. She just looked at me like I was being awkward, but I only asked. Honestly, she's so sensitive. It's funny, though. I suppose we've got something in common, me and Gemma. Nobody understands me either, but at least Mum and Dad let Gemma get on with her life. If I start talking about making films, they treat me like I'm some kid with daydreams. I told Gemma about the competition at school, and she asked me what I was going to do for it. I was dying to tell her, but I wanted it to be a secret. I guess I was afraid that if people knew what I was planning, they'd just laugh at me. "You can tell me," Gemma urged. "I promise I won't let on." So I spilled the beans. Gemma sat on the edge of my bed and listened. She asked a few questions, like what did Gob Yob Bad Mash look like, and why did Krazy Kow live with an ordinary family. When I finished, she just sat back against the wall. Do you know what she said? "That's a really good idea, Jamie. I think it might even win. You go for it." I shrugged. "Well, I think your school would be mad if they don't use your idea. It's different and funny and exciting. Where do you get your ideas from?" "They just seem to appear inside my head." Gemma smiled. "Must be pretty weird inside there," she said. And I knew she meant it as a compliment. After all, this was the girl who dressed like a vampire to impress people. "You won't tell anyone?" I insisted. Gemma held up both hands. "Not a soul." She gave me a very serious look. "You've got to enter, Jamie. Mrs. Drew is going to tell us which project's been chosen at the end of this week. She was telling us about the judges for the competition. One of them's going to be Cookie Savage." Cookie Savage? Now Gemma was even more impressed. I was pretty sure she would be. Cookie Savage is a film star, and she's Gemma's heroine. Gemma's room is plastered with pictures of her. "Oh, I'd love to be Cookie Savage," Gemma said dreamily. "Yeah, I know. I want to be Steven Spielberg." Gemma gave a little laugh and patted me. "You will be, Jamie, you will. Good luck with your idea." As she got off the bed, I asked her if we would ever see her boyfriend. "You don't think I'd ever bring Justin to this house, do you?" she said, her whole mood changing. "Ah, so he is your boyfriend. I never said he was. You never said he wasn't." Gemma stood halfway across the room, looking at me. I could tell she wanted to say something, so I waited. "Okay. You told me about Krazy Kow, so I'll tell you about Justin. Yes, he is my boyfriend, but don't you dare tell Mum or Dad or Matt." I grinned at her. "Have you kissed him, then?" Gemma's face went scarlet. It was wonderful. She tried to pull herself up tall and haughty. "That is none of your business," she said, and swept from the room. In other words, yes, they had. After she'd gone, I lay back on my bed and grinned at the ceiling. I'd always liked Gemma. And those things she'd said about Krazy Kow, that was really good. I don't know if anyone's ever said anything like that to you, but it makes you feel as if all your insides have just been given a big cuddle. I know it sounds soppy, but that's how it is. It makes you feel pretty good. It's nice to know there's someone who's on your side, someone who understands. After all, nobody else did. There was no point in telling the rest of the family about Krazy Kow anyway, because they were completely taken up with Big Bro. Matt had got a letter. He'd been called up for a trial for the county football team. "I'm going to be in the county team," he sang at the top of his voice. "You've done us proud, son. said Dad. He was grinning from ear to ear. The county team. You could play for United one day. I always said you were brilliant. I thought, yeah, you've always said he was brilliant. And you've always said I was... what? What have you told me, Dad? Not a lot, really. Do you ever get that feeling you don't belong? Like maybe you were switched at birth in hospital, that you don't belong to your family at all? When's the trial? I asked. 2 weeks, shouted Matt. Tom Hardy's been called up too. Oh, good. You could sound a bit more enthusiastic, Jamie. This was my mother. I'm going in for a competition too, I said. What competition's this? Asked Dad. Some stupid thing about the environment, Matt explained. Mrs. Drew wants everyone to have a go. But you've got football practice, Dad said. I know, it's not me who's going in for it, it's Jamie. Matt turned his sneering face on me. You haven't got a hope. You couldn't win an egg and spoon race even if they glued the egg to the spoon for you. Dad smiled at me. Gonna make another film? It was the way Dad said another film, knowing perfectly well that I hadn't made any film at all yet, that all I did was talk about them. To him, it was all talk. Things were so simple for him and Matt. They'd say, let's play football, and they'd go and play football. But you can't just say, let's make a film and then go and do it. So I left the room. It felt as if someone had just dumped a truck full of anger deep inside me somewhere. Making a film wasn't a joke for me, it was real. This was going to be my big opportunity, and Gemma had helped me to make up my mind. I'm going to show them all, I thought. I'm going to do it. Krazy Kow and the Exploding Strawberries. Scene 1. Breakfast at the Spottiswoods. Krazy Kow lazes in her chair, crossing her back legs and letting out a satisfied sigh. Yum, yum. Strawberries for breakfast. She dangles a strawberry above her fat pink lips and drops it in. Munch, munch, munch. Gosforth glances across at the super cow. You have strawberries every morning. Don't you ever get bored? Krazy Kow clasps her front legs behind her head and leans back further. Cows eat grass, Gosforth. Have you ever tried eating grass? Of course not. I'm not a cow. You are, mutters Bromley. I heard that, matchbox brain. Krazy Kow looks at them with disappointment. Children, children, brothers and sisters should love each other dearly. Sorry about this, but this is just the sort of daft thing my mum says to Matt and me when we quarrel. Bromley and Gosforth splutter into their cereal bowls. Love each other? You must be joking, they chorus. Krazy Kow raises one eyebrow. As I was saying, cows eat grass. We have it for breakfast, lunch and tea. If we want a snack between meals, we have grass. If we want a midnight feast, we have grass. Quite frankly, it gets rather boring after a while. But strawberries... oh, happy day. High and happy tinkly music. Tinkly, winkly, winkly, wee, which slowly but surely changes into dark and nasty, jangly music. Nang, 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 twing, twingy, twang, da, 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 da. Scene 2. As castle corruption floats above the bleak wastelands of Antarctica, Gobyob Badmash stares into the Mappa Monstrosa. A slow smile spreads like a plague across his face. It's a twisted, cruel, sneering scar of a smile. Strawberries, he cries. Strawberries will bring about the downfall of that ridiculous cow. I have an idea, Snurch, and it is rather good. I'm sure it is, Plague Master, fawned Snurch. Do tell. We shall grow some genetically modified strawberries, especially for KK. I shall make them manufacture their own high explosive. Moments after she swallows them, bang! Poor Krazy Kow. She'll be blown to bits. Huge orchestra plays massive dark chords. Bum, 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 bum. A breakfast bomb, cries Secretary Snurch. Snap, crackle, pop. Quite so. And to make it even better, the force of the explosion will be so great that the entire street will be blown to bits with her. Won't Krazy Kow be surprised? Won't Krazy Kow be surprised? Echoes Snurch with a satisfied chuckle. So, Gobyob works away in his laboratory, producing the perfect exploding strawberry. He tests it on Secretary Snurch's teddy. Snurch is not too happy about this, and the teddy is even less pleased as it's blown up. Sound effect, bang. Arms and legs and one glass eye shoot across the laboratory. Sound effect of spinning legs and bouncing eye. Doing, boing, doing, 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 doing. Success! Cries Gobyob as bits of stuffing drift slowly down through the air like swollen snow. Yes, master, sighs Snurch, quietly gathering together the bits and pieces of his scattered teddy. That night, he sits up late in his bedroom, sewing teddy back together. He is only partly successful. The exploding strawberries are carefully packed into a box and given a label. A taste sensation. They'll explode in your mouth. Gobyob hands them over to a mash man and sends him down with instructions to put them where Krazy Kow is bound to see them. Manic echoing laughter. Scene 3. It's shopping time, says Mrs. Spottiswoode. Who's coming to the supermarket? Not me, says Gosforth, who is busy painting her fingernails black. Not me, chorus Bromley and his dad. They're busy watching a film about how United become undercover spies during the Second World War, break the secret code being used by the enemy, invent the Spitfire, sink the Bismarck, and save the world from tyranny. Krazy Kow watches as the football team somehow manage to beat off 83 enemy tanks, 12,000 charging troops, an entire bomber squadron, and win the war. United are the best, sighs Bromley. You don't believe all that, do you? Asks Krazy Kow. Of course, it's true, you know. It's a film, says Krazy Kow. It's made up. I know it's made up, but it's still true, insists Bromley. Krazy Kow goes cross-eyed and shakes her head rapidly in despair, her tongue flopping about like a mad dishcloth. Scene 4. At the supermarket, background shopping music with voiceover. And just for today, we have reduced our cabbages. That's right, instead of being as big as a cabbage should be, they are now the same size as apples, but they're still the same price. Isn't that fantastic? Come and get your reduced cabbage now. By the time Krazy Kow and Mrs. Spottiswoode reach the supermarket, KK has calmed down. She has a nice time wandering around the aisles with her handbag, trolley and shopping list. Underleg deodorant, wrinkle cream, bubble bath. Little old ladies keep popping over to ask her for her autograph and see if she's had any good adventures lately. You're my role model, one of them tells her. You are the cow. You're not supposed to recognize me, hisses KK. Why do you think I wear a mask over my eyes when I'm on a mission? Krazy Kow doesn't notice that everywhere she goes, she's quietly shadowed by a very short, fat man wearing dark tights and a black polo neck sweater with Mash Man written across the front. Most people think it's a designer label. He also wears a huge cape with something hidden beneath it. Every time the mash man appears, you hear music, like when the shark appears in Jaws. Da, 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 da. I must get some cream for my udder, KK tells Mrs. Spottiswoode. I had to use my flamethrower last night, and it's rather sore. Try Plume de Martante moisturiser, suggests Mrs. Spottiswoode, before going off to get some reduced cabbage because it's on special offer, and that means it's special. After that, Krazy Kow sets off to find some strawberries. As she approaches the fruit and vegetable selection, the mash man hurries ahead of her. He slips the strawberries onto the front of the display, steps back, and waits. Krazy Kow reads the label and licks her lips. Those look very nice. I shall have those for breakfast. And she slips them into her trolley. Oh, no! Scene 5. Gobyob Badmash, the Dark Contaminator, gazes into the Mappa Monstrosa and claps his hands. Soon Krazy Kow will be no more. Dark and jangly music again. The Gobyob theme tune. Scene 6. When Krazy Kow gets home, she's putting the strawberries into the fridge when she realises that she just can't resist having one straight away. She chooses the biggest strawberry of all and pops it into her mouth. This is lovely, says Krazy Kow. The best strawberry I've had for ages. Munch, munch, munch. The strawberry slips down her throat. Slurpy slip. Just as it reaches stomach number 1... Boom! The whole of Krazy Kow's body leaves the ground, hits the ceiling and lands again. A taste explosion! Cries Krazy Kow, and she burps. A puff of dark smoke drifts across the top of her tongue. On goes the strawberry to stomach number 2. Slurpy slip. But damn! This time, Krazy Kow does a complete backward somersault and lands flat on the floor. Oh, yummy, yum, she cries. That is the best strawberry ever. The strawberry slips into stomach number 3. Slurpy slip, ba ba bang! It explodes again, and Krazy Kow finds herself stuck to the ceiling for several seconds before she comes crashing back down on the table. She gives herself a good shake. Smoke pours from her ears and 1 or 2 other places. Oh, heaven, she sighs. That was so nice. And then the strawberry reaches stomach number 4. Slurpy slip, baba boom boom. Krazy Kow shoots round the room 5 times like a giant escaped balloon. Flames come roaring from her rear end as she's jet-propelled round the kitchen with her tail spinning round at several thousand miles an hour. Sound effect of jet engine mixed with kitchen equipment crashing and smashing. Suddenly, a miniature parachute brake pops out and slows her down. She crash lands in a chair where she sits with a delighted smile on her face. That was some strawberry, she tells Gosforth, who just put her head into the kitchen to see what all the noise is about. And something tells me that strawberries don't normally have that effect. I think someone has just tried to blow me up. Krazy Kow goes to the fridge. She carefully sniffs the strawberries and examines them with the molecular microscope hidden in her horns. Aha! I thought as much. These have been genetically modified to explode, she says. If you had eaten these, Gosforth, they would have killed you and lots of other people too. It's a good thing I have a superhero stomach, standard issue, you know. I had better dispose of these safely. Scene 7. Krazy Kow grabs the strawberries. To the bathroom! and beyond, she cries, and with a whiz and a pat and a supersonic bang, she zooms into the safety of the sky. Like a rocket into the blue, she's black and white, she's Krazy Moo. Krazy Kow hurls the box of strawberries as far as she can into the upper atmosphere. She turns on her back, lifts one rear leg, expertly spins her udder, clicks it into position, and whoom, a miniature missile shoots out and hits the strawberries dead on. Kerpow! Sping! Shadang! Fwizz! Bah! Boom! Strawberries rocket up into the sky and explode, raining juice down on passing cars and people. More strawberries plaster the walls of the surrounding houses, but at least everyone is safe. Strawberries are raining on my head type music. An excited, strawberry-bespattered crowd gathers outside the Spottiswoode house. You have saved us from the exploding strawberries, Krazy Kow. Thank you! Thank you! Krazy Kow quickly adjusts her lipstick and holds up her front legs for silence. It was nothing, she cries. I am here to help you at all times. Now listen to me. I have a message for you. This is what I say. I am the Big Moo. You are the Big Moo, cheers the crowd. Hurrah! Scene 8. High in castle corruption, Gob-Yob Badmash fumes. I shall get you, Krazy Kow. I shall get you. He plunges his hands into his pockets and pulls out 2 large wriggling clumps of worms. He stuffs them into his mouth. Boo, hiss, what's he going to do next kind of music? 6. I get the job. I worked really hard on Krazy Kow. I borrowed Mum's computer and got it all written up tidily. I put the pages and all my drawings into a neat plastic folder and handed them in to Mrs. Drew. After that, all I could do was wait. Mrs. Drew made the announcement in assembly a few days later. She thanked everyone for their hard work, but I can only choose one project to submit, she said, and I was thinking, we know that, get on with it. My heart was pounding. All the staff have taken a look at your ideas, and I have to say that there was one idea that really stood out. The winner is Jamie Fink from Class J5. It was me! I always knew it would happen. I was on my way to fame and fortune. I already was famous in my school. It was as if everyone was looking at me. I could see Matt's face, totally stupefied. Somewhere in the background, Mrs. Drew was still talking, telling them about Krazy Kow and how she fights Gob-Yob Badmash. I was grinning from ear to ear. I couldn't stop myself. When assembly was finished, I walked back to class in a kind of dream. Most of my classmates were already there, looking puzzled. I grinned at them. A cow? Said Rebecca, tossing back her long blonde hair like a slow-mo shampoo ad. You too can have hair like Rebecca, washed in a mountain stream, using pongy weed and toad bits. You can live the dream. Why a cow? That's how it came to me, I explained. It's silly, she announced, and my heart sank. Beautiful Rebecca thought it was silly. I tried to explain that Krazy Kow was meant to be silly. I suppose I should have kept quiet at this point, but I couldn't resist going on. Getting Mrs. Drew's support had made me feel really good about the whole thing. Listen, I'm going to be a famous film director one day. This is just the start. Rebecca looked at me as if I'd gone totally off my head and began a slow, hollow laugh. Then she delivered her final verdict. That is so pretentious. Everyone started sneering and laughing at me, even though none of us knew what it meant. I don't suppose even Rebecca knew what it meant. She was always coming out with long words. It didn't mean she understood them. It was the way she said them. And she said pretentious, as if it meant dog poo, or quite probably something bigger than that, like elephant poo, maybe even brontosaurus poo. Then the others waded in with their little bits of criticism. Yeah, and who wants to save the world anyway? Interrupted Carl. So what would you rather do, I asked. Play football? Silence. They didn't want to answer that one. A single voice spoke up. Save the world, of course. We all turned to see who it was. Kat blushed very red and scowled back. Kat was short for Catherine, and also because she had green slanted eyes. A small nose and short spiky hair only added to the impression. Jamie's right, she insisted. Pollution is a big problem. The idea of Krazy Kow is a really good way to get the message across. Oh, look, sneered Rebecca. It's the film director's assistant. A sniggering chorus went up from the boys. Ooh! One of them made kissy noises, and they laughed. At last they moved off, leaving me alone with Kat, who was now crimson. She gazed up at me. Kat's actually pretty short, the shortest in our class. She has to gaze up at everyone. They're just jealous, she said. I like your idea, it's different. All I did was write about polluting the planet, but a film? That's brilliant. Thank you. You're really clever. Not really. Oh, come on, you are. Nobody else thought of a cartoon cow. I smiled. It was nice of Kat to say all this, but I was beginning to feel embarrassed. I can help you with it. Yeah? I wasn't too sure about this. My street cred was already pretty low. In the distance I could see Rebecca watching. She was laughing at us. We could work on it together. I don't need much help at the moment, thanks. I don't mind. I could just hang around, suggested Kat, in case you need anything. She looked at me, and her eyes reminded me of an eager puppy. I didn't want an eager puppy. I don't think I'll be needing anything. The smile quickly faded, and Kat chewed at her lower lip. I thought she was going to say more, but she just shoved her hands into her pockets, shrugged, and walked off. Strange girl. I almost called out to her. I wanted to know if she knew what pretentious meant. Soon after this, I was called in to see Mrs. Drew. She had some good news and some bad news. Jamie, you mustn't let anyone else know yet, but the organisers have been so impressed by some of the ideas sent in by schools that some of the judges are going to make special visits to see the work being done. You mean they might come to our school? Mrs. Drew nodded and leant forward, almost whispering. They are going to come to our school. I've been told to expect 2 of them in a week's time. My eyes were boggling. Which ones? I asked. Cookie Savage and Dwight Trellis. The film star? I began. And the United winger. Isn't that fantastic? I couldn't believe it. The thought of having Cookie Savage in my own school, a real film star, somebody who worked in real films with real directors, somebody who might one day star in a film being made by me. Just as I was getting nicely carried away with my little dream, Mrs. Drew brought me back to earth with a bang. It turned out that she wanted to make a film of Krazy Kow, all right, but not a cartoon. We don't have the facilities, Jamie. You need special cameras for that. Can't we get them? I'm sorry we don't have the time or the money, but I do think we can make a really good film about Krazy Kow. I've got hold of a cow costume. What? My brilliant cartoon character was being turned into a pantomime cow? It's the best we can do. Wait till you see it. I've set up the video camera in the hall and gathered some of the children together so that we can try it out. I sighed heavily. Can I at least do the filming? I don't see why not. I thought your brother and Tom Hardy could be the front and back of the cow. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The thought of 2 ace footballers inside a cow costume just seemed so weird, and it would serve them right. We went off to the hall, and there in a corner lay 3 large black and white crumpled heaps, the front and back bits of a cow. The rest of the cast were gathered round them. We're going to film the first episode, began Mrs. Drew. This is where Krazy Kow discovers a nuclear reactor on fire. Matt and Tom, you get in the cow. Carl, help them hook together, will you? Tom, your udder's not on straight. Pull it up between your knees. That's better. Matt, can you stop twisting around? Tom poked me, said Matt, his voice muffled by the big cow head he was wearing. Didn't? Did! The front half of the cow swung round and aimed a kick at the back half. Ow! The back section launched itself at the front, wrestling it to the ground, where the two halves rolled about, thumping each other. The sound of laughter came from inside. Mrs. Drew puffed over to the wriggling cow. "Boys, please!" Krazy Kow's tail twitched, and Tom poked his head out of a gap in the middle where the costume joined up. "Sorry," he muttered, trying to appear serious. I knew he was deliberately playing up. He was trying to sabotage my film. "That's all right, Tom. Pick yourselves up, both of you, and get yourselves sorted." Mrs. Drew heaved another sigh. "Now, is everyone set?" "Cameras running," I called out, and focused on Krazy Kow. Her head suddenly twisted round. "Will you stop poking? Ow!" Now the front half of Krazy Kow suddenly leapt in the air and yanked off her own head. Matt was trying to look cross, but there was a big grin hidden beneath his frown. "Now what?" demanded Mrs. Drew. "Tom pinched my bum." "Don't be daft, I've got a bum of my own." Everyone in the hall fell about. "Anyhow," Tom went on, "you could have pinched your own." "Shush, please, do be quiet," cried Mrs. Drew. "Tom, Matthew, will you behave? We have filming to do." "Jamie, are you ready?" "I've been ready for years." "There's no need for sarcasm, thank you." Mrs. Drew took a deep breath. "OK, everyone, ready, action." Krazy Kow began to clump across the hall. "A nuclear fire in Australia!" bellowed Matt from inside the cow's head. "Oh no, I must fly into action. Ow, stop it! Ow!" The front half of Krazy Kow began jumping up and down, and then all of a sudden took off across the hall. The back half couldn't keep up, tripped and fell to the floor, only to be dragged along behind the front as it raced away. Tom was spun onto his back and his front and his back again until his legs and tail and great pink udder were waving about like some gigantic escaped rubber glove. Round and round went Matt while Tom polished the hall floor, swishing about in great swinging arcs until at last the cow ripped in half. The back end went spinning across the hall floor and crashed into the wall. Tom poked out his head. "Have you quite finished?" "You started it," snapped Matt. "That's enough!" cried Mrs. Drew. "Both of you, go back to your classroom." She watched, hands on hips, as the two boys slunk away, smirking at each other. Mrs. Drew put another two children in the cow, and we started again. After that, the filming went smoothly, but, and it was a very big but, it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't anything like what I'd imagined in my head. It wasn't even anything like the stories I'd written down. A pantomime cow simply was not Krazy Kow. My dreams were crumbling to bits all around me. After school I was heading for home when Kat caught up with me. She fell in alongside, panting from running. Wasn't much good, was it? I grunted. They're useless, that lot. They haven't got any imagination. They can't see what you and I can see. I grunted again. So, Kat thought she knew what was going on inside my head, did she? I had this sudden mad picture in my head of Krazy Kow leaping through the air, a Swiss Army udder firing off in every direction. I mean, nobody's head's like that except mine. "Why don't you make your own film?" Kat suggested. "Forget about the school film. Make your own cartoon the way you want it to be." I kept on walking. This was a surprisingly good suggestion from Kat. "Well?" She was half running beside me, bouncing up and down, trying to keep up. "It's not that easy." "I could help you. We could do it together." This was the second time Kat had offered to help. She was watching me earnestly, but that puppy dog look had gone. She meant business. I stopped. "OK, you can help, but I'm in charge and you do what I say." Kat's face cracked into a massive smile. "Brilliant!" She suddenly flung both arms round me and gave me a huge hug. "Get off!" I yelled. Seven. Too many strawberries. Dad's got a video camera he uses for filming Big Bro when he's playing football. Dad reckons it's good for training. They sit and watch it for hours, replaying special moves. I reckon I could make my film with Dad's camera. I don't think he's used it for weeks, and although he's the only one allowed to handle it, I was sure I could get away with it. So I grabbed the thing. Once I was up in my bedroom, I examined the camera because I wanted to make sure I knew how it worked. I pointed it out of the window and peered through, finger on the button, and that was when I saw Gemma with Justin. They were kissing. There they were, in the little alley that runs along the back of our garden where they thought nobody would spot them. I could only see their heads, but it was definitely Gemma and Justin. It was as if their lips had been super-glued together. I kept the button pressed. It just seemed the thing to do. It was like I was a great news photographer, right on the spot, just as the big news was breaking. Headline, flash, Gemma snogs Justin. After they'd gone, I played the film back. Something about it didn't seem right, and then I realised what it was. There was no soundtrack. So I set the microphone and sat there making loads of really slurpy, sloppy, kissy noises. It sounded disgusting, and I must admit it gave me a bit of a laugh, but I had more important things to think about. I wanted to start filming the Krazy Kow story, starting with the exploding strawberries. The question that was bothering me was, how do you make strawberries explode? And how do you film it at the same time? I spent the entire weekend thinking about that. I thought my brain would burst. It was so full of cows and strawberries and cameras. But by the time I went to bed on Sunday night, I reckoned I'd worked out what to do. I spoke to Kat about it the next day and told her we were going to film the episode with the exploding strawberries. Where are you going to get exploding strawberries from? The exploding strawberry shop, I said. No, really, how will you do it? She laughed and pushed me. I smiled and tapped my nose. Kat scowled furiously. Tell me! Come to my house after school tomorrow. Matt will be out training, and Gemma goes to Air Cadet, so there won't be anyone else around for a while. We can get the filming done then. But I still don't see how just come tomorrow. I hurried off. I had so much to sort out. This filming business was taking over my life. I already had a stupendous idea for the exploding strawberries, but there were other things I needed too, like Krazy Kow herself. Down in the toddlers' classrooms, they have loads of stuffed toys, and I had a vague memory that one of them was a black and white cow. So I snuck down there, only to run straight into one of the dinner ladies, Mrs. Bevinson. It's pretty easy to run into Mrs. Bevinson, because she's about 3 miles wide and made of old mattresses. Well, that's what she looks like, at any rate. Mrs. Bevinson always walks very slowly, like a robot with a battery that's running down, her tiny rolling pin arms swinging at her sides. She's so wide, she fills the school corridors like some minesweeper. I couldn't help but run straight into her. Oi, I know you, she thundered as I struggled to free myself from her Venus flytrap bosom. What do you think you're up to? My brain was on holiday somewhere. What I really needed at this moment was for Krazy Kow herself to appear in the corridor and zap Mrs. Bevinson with her flamethrower. Barbecued dinner lady. Stay calm, I told myself. Do not flinch at the jaws of death. Be Hercules. Be Indiana Jones. Be Mr. Cool. I smiled at Mrs. Bevinson. I lost my jacket yesterday. One of the teachers said she thought she saw it hanging on a peg in the cloakroom down here. Mrs. Bevinson took a step back and squinted at me with one eye. You're just trying it on, she bellowed. This is Mrs. Bevinson's favourite phrase. Whatever anyone says to her, she answers, you're just trying it on. I stayed quiet and kept my eyes on her. She grunted and moved to one side, as far as she was able. I tunnelled past her and disappeared into the cloakroom while she carried on out to the playground, heaving like an overloaded car ferry. As soon as she was out of sight, I slipped into the toddler's classroom and dived in amongst the soft toys. It took only a few moments to find the little cow. I stuffed it in my bag and hurried off. I was going to take it back later. That was my plan. When Kat arrived at the house, she was beaming with excitement. "Is this where you live?" she asked. Since I'd just answered the front door, this struck me as a pretty weird question. "We're going to film in the kitchen," I told her, and she followed me through to the back of the house. I'd already cleared the kitchen table and set up the video camera on a tripod at one end. "Ignore the washing hanging up, it's Big Bro's football kit," I told Kat, and added bitterly, "Must have him looking his best for the county trial." Kat wrinkled her nose at the washing. "You're not into football much, are you?" "Nope." She smiled. "Nor me, I hate it." "What else do you hate? I hate that too." She stopped suddenly. "Sorry, I'm rabbiting. What are we going to do?" I'd got hold of all the strawberries from the fridge and piled them onto a paper plate. Underneath the plate was my hydro helicopter. Connected to the hydrocopter was one of those air pumps operated by foot. You pump really hard and a huge amount of pressure is stored up in the launch pad. When the pressure gets too much, it's suddenly released, whoosh, and the helicopter goes zooming up in the air with its rotors whizzing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I stuck Krazy Kow on the table and bent her legs so that it looked as if she might be firing a rocket at the strawberries. "I'm going to film. You pump as hard as you can. When it takes off, the hydrocopter should scatter the strawberries like they've just exploded. I've got to keep the camera focused on them without showing the copter underneath." "Fantastic," said Kat, clinging onto my arm. "You're so clever." I pulled my arm from her grasp. "Just do the pumping," I muttered, and stepped behind the camera. I pressed record and began a voiceover for Krazy Kow. "Oh no, these strawberries have been genetically modified to explode. I must dispose of them at once. I shall just use my BAM! The launcher was triggered and the copter burst upwards. Strawberries went everywhere. One hit the camera lens head on. Some splattered against the kitchen walls. Some were sliced to bits by the whirling rotor blades. They pummeled into Matt's football kit, leaving massive red blotches on his shorts and socks and shirt. But most of the strawberries hit the ceiling, where they stuck, like squashed supernovas. The hydrocopter was ricocheting round the kitchen, completely out of control, bouncing off the walls, knocking plants onto the floor, and occasionally trying to decapitate us. At last it plunged into the sink, where it turned the washing up water into an instant froth of shredded dishcloth and minced geraniums. The strawberries on the ceiling slowly unstuck themselves and rained down on us, the table, the floor, the washing, each one making a gentle plop as it landed. I glanced across at Kat. She appeared to be in a deep trauma, rocking on her feet and dripping strawberry juice. She looked as if she'd just been pulled straight out of a jam pot. All I could see were the whites of her eyes staring at me. I grabbed a couple of tea towels and threw one across to Kat. "Quick, clean up. Mum's going to kill me." She still didn't move. But I didn't have time to see what was up. The entire kitchen needed my emergency attention. I cleaned and wiped and mopped until I thought my arms would fall off. I shoved Matt's football kit into the washing machine and stuffed in all the dirty tea towels. By this time, Kat was beginning to stir. So while that lot was washing, we tidied up the rest of the place as best we could. I discovered most of Krazy Kow spread-eagled against the kitchen window. She'd been blown apart by the explosion. Her head was under the fridge, one leg was on the stove, her udder was draped over a potted plant like some exotic bloom. I gathered up the bits and put them in my bag. There wasn't much we could do about the ceiling. I just had to hope that nobody would notice. Kat stumbled home. I don't know how she was going to explain herself to her parents. Something like, "Mum, I was just walking along minding my own business, and this big dollop of strawberry jam fell out of the sky and landed on me." Maybe. I put the camera back, scuttled upstairs, and hoped that everything would be all right. I passed the time by trying to stitch Krazy Kow back together. And everything was all right. For a while. When the others came in, they were over the moon because someone important from the county team had been there to watch the training, and Matt had been brilliant, and Mr. Important must have seen how good Matt was, and he was going to be a football ace of the future and a real star. I thought, no, I'm going to be the star in this family. You wait and see. Krazy Kow's going to be much bigger than any footballer. Krazy Kow is going to take over the world. I just had to stitch it together first. Dad was rummaging amongst the shelves. You remember that match against Hillside Junior when you almost scored but hit the crossbar? Take a look at it again, Matt, on the video, and tell me what you do differently this time. Ah! Panic stations. My heart stopped dead. My mouth wouldn't work. My voice had dried up. That video was full of exploding strawberries. You don't want to watch it now, I blurted out. You've just been watching football. Fresh in the mind, said Dad. It's the last bit I filmed, so it should be here. The TV flickered into life. There was Matt running across a field, chasing a ball. For a brief moment I thought, it's going to be all right. Maybe the strawberries come much later than this. Then the film went crackly, the screen cleared, and the next thing everyone saw was Gemma and Justin snogging with the sound effects I'd made. Schlurpy schlop, kiss, 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 kissy, schlippy schlurp. We stared and stared and stared. It seemed to go on forever. Mum and Dad and Matt all leant forward in their chairs as if to get an even closer view. Listen to it, murmured Mum in a shocked whisper. I think they're eating each other. She turned to Dad. Did you know this was going on? Dad shook his head. At that moment, the front door opened and Gemma walked in, fresh from her air cadet training. Hi, everyone! You'll never guess what... Her voice suddenly broke off as she saw the TV. Good evening, Mum said stiffly. On telly, the two air cadets came up for air. Then they started again. Gemma stared at the TV as if it was the most horrifyingly scary thing she'd ever seen. It was. Dad switched off. He got up and gazed steadily at Gemma. You've got some explaining to do, he growled. Gemma burst into tears and fled the room. Mum went after her, and that left Dad wondering how Gemma had actually come to be filmed on his camera. He looked at Matt, but Matt had been out playing football. He looked at me. His eyes stayed looking at me. This could prove to be difficult. Eight. Gobyob sets a trap. Scene 1. Gobyob Badmash is in a foul mood. He'd be stamping up and down Castle Corruption if he had legs, but he's a slug, so he doesn't. No wonder he's in a foul mood. He fixes Secretary Snurch with a malevolent eye. Krazy Kow must die, he hisses. Good idea, agrees Snurch. We must lure her into a twap and eliminate her. Good idea, nods Snurch. We need something to bait the twap. What about someone? Grins Snurch. There are 2 children living with Krazy Kow. Bromley, the boy, is a football fanatic, he announces, and Gobyob Badmash claps his little hands with delight. A football fan? Oh, good. They're always the easiest. We shall send a mash man to have a little talk with Sidcup, Bromley, Snurch corrects the leader, and see how helpful he can be. Gobyob sighs and leans back upon his throne. I am looking forward to this. Krazy Kow, your moment of doom is coming fast. Scene 2. Bromley Spottiswoode is standing in front of his bedroom mirror, dressed in full United kit. He twists this way and that, admiring himself. He makes a few pretend kicks, imagining the roar of the delighted crowd as he scores one goal after another. "You'd make a brilliant United player," says a quiet voice. Bromley spins round. There, sitting on his bed, is a mash man. In fact, it's Gob Yob himself. The Gob Yob theme tune. "Where did you come from? How did you get into my room?" Gob Yob smiles. "I came down the chimney, like Father Christmas." "There isn't a fireplace in my room," Bromley points out. "Oh, give us a break," snaps Gob Yob. "You children are so picky these days. It doesn't matter how I got here. This is your lucky day. There is something I can do for you." "Oh, yeah?" "I can make your dreams come true." "You don't know what my dreams are," says Bromley. "You want to be a football star. You want to play for United in the cup final and score the winning goal." Bromley stares at Gob Yob as if the slug has just read his mind, which of course he has. Gob Yob is very good at reading minds, especially when they're so small. "That would be wonderful," sighs Bromley. "Can you really do that?" "Of course. It's not difficult. But in return, I need a favour from you." Gob Yob leans forward. "You have a friend living here with you. A cow." "That's right. Krazy Kow." "I want to know what her weak spot is." "I can't tell you that." "Oh dear, I'm so sorry. Then I can't make you into a football star." Thinks Bromley. This is difficult. He battles with his conscience and loses very quickly. "In that case, I will tell you," says Bromley cheerfully. "The boy's a pushover," murmurs Gob Yob to himself. "He has as much backbone as a jellyfish." "Did you say something?" "Yes, but you won't understand. Ignorance, as people say, is bliss. And before you interrupt, don't worry, you won't understand that either. Now, what is Krazy Kow's weak spot? Do tell." "She is allergic to nuclear chickens." "Nuclear chickens? But there are no such creatures in the universe. That's why KK is so successful. If there were nuclear chickens, she would be in dead trouble. And by that I mean she would be in trouble and dead." "Ha-ha! The boy has a sense of humour. Well, it's all very strange and interesting," mutters Gob Yob. "I must get to work at once." "Hey, what about making me into a football star?" "Dream on," cries Gob Yob. "I am an evil villain. Surely you don't expect me to keep my promises." He vanishes in a puff of smoke. Poof! Bromley sits on his bed. He wonders what Gob Yob will do. Has he betrayed Krazy Kow by telling of her secret weakness? Bromley shakes his head. No, after all, there are no such things as nuclear chickens. They don't exist. Gob Yob Badmash admitted that himself. Bromley smiles. He isn't a traitor at all. Scene 3. Back at Castle Corruption, Gob Yob is over the moon. He's been working on a new invention, and now he's presenting it to Snurch for the first time. A strange creature struts before them, pecking at the ground. Chicken music and sound effect of pecking. Peck, peck, peck. It looks like a large chicken, except that its body is more in the shape of a cube than anything truly animal. Gob Yob smiles. "This is the creature that is going to destroy Krazy Kow once and for all," he cries. "I have created an atomic cockerel. Behold! Nuclear reactor chicken! Chicken suddenly lifts its head, looks straight at camera, winks and crows. Cock-a-doodle-doom! Secretary Snurch admires the fabulously foul fowl, while the Dark Contaminator explains the next stage of his dastardly plan. We set a trap. Let's say a nice environmental accident. A giant oil tanker leaking millions of gallons of oil into the ocean, suggests Snurch. Possibly. Or maybe an explosion at a chemical factory that sends poisonous fumes drifting across the countryside, killing everything in its path. Oh, yes, crooned Snurch. Or we could kill off every single whale and tiger left on the planet. And the pandas, adds Gobyob. Don't forget the giant pandas. I hate them. Stupid, fat, fluffy things with as much brain power as a lollipop. I can't understand why humans like them so much. They go nuts over them. Gobyob's voice changes to a dreamy sing-song. I want to give it an eco-cargo. Come and give me a lovely big huggy-wuggy. Blah! The two evil villains gaze at each other and sigh with pleasure at their sheer nastiness. They are having such fun. Gobyob smiles dreamily. Now, which idea will it be? 9. Gloria gives a helping hand. Gemma isn't speaking to me anymore. She thinks I betrayed her by filming her with Justin. But how was I to know Dad and Mum would see it? It isn't as if I filmed it especially. It was Gemma's fault for getting in the way when I pressed the record button. I tried to say sorry, but she spends all her time shut in her room and won't listen. Anyhow, it was a golden opportunity, definitely not to be missed. I told Kat what had happened, and she just thought it was funny. But then Gemma's not her big sister, is she? I guess I should be glad that Dad never got round to seeing the rest of the film, the bit with the exploding strawberries. He was so cross he chucked away the whole cartridge. So it's bye-bye to my Oscar-winning exploding strawberries. Not to mention my brilliant bit of true-life drama, Air Cadets in Mid-Air Collision, starring Gemma and Justin. Don't miss the new romantic horror film from Jamie Fink, the world's greatest film director. Their eyes met, their noses met, their lips met, and the audience threw up. See, I just can't help myself. Even though I know I've really upset Gemma, I also know it makes a brilliant bit of film. I feel pretty bad about the whole business. I wish I knew how to make things right with Gemma. As for Mum, she's terribly worried about the kitchen. She thinks some kind of strange mold's creeping across the ceiling. I've never seen anything like it, she told our neighbour. It's pinky red, and it looks like enormous chicken pox blisters. I think I ought to call in a mould expert. Sounds more like you need a doctor, murmured the neighbour. Anyhow, Kat and I are going to have to start all over again. To make matters worse, things are bad at school, too. They started off all right. Mrs. Drew called me into her office. I stood there wondering what I'd done wrong, but it turned out to be nothing like that. I have to tell you, Jamie, Dwight Trellis and Cookie Savage are coming tomorrow. It's so exciting. So that bit of news was okay. But it was later that things began to go wrong. We tried to do some more filming out in the playground. Mrs. Drew wanted to have another go at Krazy Kow saving the nuclear reactor. Exactly! We still haven't managed to film the first episode yet, and the competition entries have to be in by the end of this week. Not to mention Dwight Trellis and Cookie Savage coming to watch the whole thing. Time is running out! Anyhow, I had a good idea. I'd been really worried about how badly the film was going. Not to mention the fact that Mrs. Drew isn't making Krazy Kow as a cartoon, which is what it's meant to be. So I've sent a copy of my film script to a film company in America, Awesome Productions. They made that fantastic blockbuster Starship Conqueror with all the amazing special effects. Remember the collapsing battle cruiser, the wall of fire, and the multi-headed space spiders with telescopic legs? Wow! They're going to love my idea for Krazy Kow. I'm expecting to hear from them any day now. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if one of their agents was on his way over here right now. He'll draw up outside my house in a super stretch limo, one of those things with about 20 windows and 10 doors down each side. He'll step out in a really sharp suit, and when he sees me, he'll say, "Hey! You must be the one and only Jamie Fink, creator of Krazy Kow. We want to make your film. It's gonna be mega. I've a contract here for $1 million billion trillion." And I'll say, maybe. I'll think about it. No, not really. I'll say, yippee. Or even like this, yippee! In the meantime, we've been trying to do some more filming at school. We were well organised, so Mrs. Drew left us to it. Kat seems to think she's now my personal assistant. She's made a clapperboard from a slice of thick card and a ruler. She keeps getting in the way of the camera and shouting action. We were filming a bit where Krazy Kow is attacked by the mashmen. Half of my class were wearing tights and black polo neck sweaters with black bin liners for capes. Meanwhile, Krazy Kow was stomping about the playground, bellowing, "I am the cow, moo moo," at the top of her lungs. And then, just when it was beginning to look quite exciting, Miss Ghosh brought out her class of 4- and 5-year-olds in their leotards and pants and tiny vests. Those little ones look so funny when they're doing PE. They're like miniature wind-up toys that have gone out of control. Of course, the first thing the teeny toddlers see is a large cow being chased by nasty men in black tights and rustling black bin bags flapping behind them. Half of them burst into tears on the spot. "There were horrible men chasing that poor cow," cries one little boy, and he promptly sat down in a heap of tears. Half a dozen wind-up toys immediately tripped over him and set up more wailing. This was rapidly turning into a who can wail the loudest competition. "Come on, let's save that cow." This came from Gloria, the biggest girl in Miss Ghosh's class. I mean, she was big. She was only 4 years old, but she looked more like 40. She had arms with muscles like rolling pins. I found out later she was Mrs. Bevinson's granddaughter. So Gloria set off after the mashmen, yelling her battle cry, with 15 other tiny tots screaming behind her, while the rest of the class sat on the playground going boo-hoo in very loud voices. The mashmen stopped and turned to see what was going on. Some of them were laughing. They thought the teeny tots were funny. "Aren't they sweet?" I heard one say, before he was mown down by 15 pairs of toddling trainers bent on revenge. "Children, children," cried poor Miss Ghosh, trying to run after them in 6 different directions at once. But her class weren't children any longer. They turned into monstrous trolls bent on rescuing a poor cow. When the one sitting down saw how successful the attackers were, they hurried to join in. Soon the mashmen were running for their lives, while Kat raced after them, banging her clapperboard and shouting, "Cut, cut!" A crowd of delighted toddlers mobbed Krazy Kow and patted her sides. "You're a lovely cow," they said. "You can come to our class and have tea." At this suggestion, Krazy Kow appeared to fold herself in half as the 2 boys inside clung to each other for safety. "We don't want any tea," trembled Carl up at the front end. Gloria folded her arms across her chest. "Yes, you do," she insisted. "Come on." Gloria is one of those very helpful girls. Do you know the kind I mean? She's the sort of person you find next to you when you're having second thoughts about doing something dangerous, like jumping off the top diving board at the swimming pool. "You can do it. Go on, it's easy. You can do it. Just stand near the edge. I'll help you. There." Push, scream, splash. Gloria looks down at the body floating in the water. "Go on then, swim. Can't you hear? Got water in your ears? I said swim. No, I didn't say sink to the bottom of the pool. What's the point in drowning, you daft what's-it? You're dead now. You're useless, you are." So Gloria was being very helpful indeed, and the 2 children inside Krazy Kow were scared. "I really need a wee." Carl whispered to the back half, but Gloria heard him, and since she was still being helpful, she promptly grabbed Krazy Kow by one horn. "Follow me," she said, dragging the poor cow towards the infant toilets, with Carl almost being strangled and making dreadful choking noises. Gloria then tried to reverse the protesting moo cow through the door of the girls' toilet. If it hadn't been for Miss Gauche, goodness knows what would have happened next. "Get that cow out of there at once." "The cow said she wanted a wee," Gloria explained, ramming her knee into Krazy Kow's chest and giving her a helpful shove backwards. The wind was knocked from Carl, and he collapsed on the floor, wheezing. "This is a pretend cow, Gloria. Real cows can't talk." Gloria turned and stared at Krazy Kow, who slowly began to fall apart in front of her very eyes. The back half split from the front, and Martin Coggles stumbled out, clutching his nose. "I've got a nosebleed," he mumbled, with blood dripping through his fingers and onto the floor. And then Krazy Kow pulled off her head, and a cross-eyed Carl managed to blurt out rather huskily, "I am the cow." Gloria screamed at the bleeding headless heifer and ran for her life, whilst Carl gazed up at Miss Gauche as if he was about to expire on the spot. "I really do need a—" "Yes, all right, go!" cried Miss Gauche. "The rest of you, follow me. P.E. has been cancelled." All around the playground, the bruised and trampled mashmen struggled to their feet. I reckon the world didn't need Krazy Kow anymore. Those mashmen didn't stand a chance. Miss Gauche's toddlers could save the world. No problem at all. Mrs. Drew came hurrying out of a doorway and made her way across the playground. She beamed at me. "How did it go? Looks like you've been having fun." "Miss Gauche's class came out to do P.E., I began, but Mrs. Drew had just spotted Martin Coggles. "That's a nasty nosebleed you have there, Martin. Have some of the boys been a bit rough?" "It would Gloria Bevington," Martin growled. The head teacher threw back her head and laughed. "Gloria Bevinson? A 4-year-old giving a 10-year-old a big nosebleed like that? Don't be ridiculous. Come on then, everyone, inside. Fun and games over for today. I'm quite sure that our famous guests tomorrow are going to love your film, Jamie." Inwardly, I groaned. Yeah, they were going to love my film about as much as you love a pie in the face. My dream of Krazy Kow had turned into my worst nightmare ever. Would it never end? 10. Krazy Kow's Last Battle. Scene 1. Dark and jangly music, the Gob-Yob theme tune. Castle corruption floats high in the ice-bound air above Antarctica. Gob-Yob Badmash lies upon his black throne and soaks up the extra radiation that comes pouring through the huge ozone hole. Secretary Snurch hovers at his elbow, holding a fresh bowl of worms. "Is everything ready for the final showdown with that ridiculous moo cow, Snurch? It is, great monster of misery. There is a rubbish heap in Switzerland that should provide a good theatre for the last act of this drama." Gob-Yob sits up, looking considerably displeased. "A rubbish heap? You mean we aren't going to blow up a nuclear power station or wreck a giant oil tanker? And why Switzerland? It's such a weeny-teeny little place. Nothing but snow and mountains and cuckoo clocks." "Exactly," says Snurch smoothly. "It is a place of mountains, many of them, and I have made an interesting discovery, Plague Master." "Really?" Gob-Yob smiles and nibbles on a particularly tasty and wriggly worm. "There is one mountain that has been completely hollowed out. The Swiss have been using it for years as a place to hide their rubbish. Aha! A mountain of rubbish. Quite so. smiles Snurch. "But now the mountain is full, and all that rotting vegetation and stuff has produced a considerable amount of methane gas beneath the surface of the rubbish. And of course you know what methane smells like. Bad eggs. Pooey. Wonderful. Quite. So we start a little fire. The sort of accident that might so easily happen. The fire threatens to ignite the methane. It's a giant volcano just waiting to erupt. An emergency call goes out, and Krazy Kow comes zooming to the rescue." Gobyob himself sings the Krazy Kow theme tune in his high voice. "Dubby-doodle-doo, dee-lee-lee, dee-lee-dumby-dumby-dum, wee-lee-lee-lee-lee," etc. And right on top of the mountain is our little chicken, ready and waiting. Secretary Snurch folds his arms and waits. Gobyob smiles. The more he thinks about this plan, the better he likes it. It'll do away with his arch-enemy at last, but it also has a delicious twist. Not only Krazy Kow, but the humans too are going to die at the hands of their own rubbish. And in Switzerland. Switzerland! Gobyob is almost beside himself with ecstasy. "Don't you see? It's the home of the Swiss Army penknife and Krazy Kow's horrible, horrendous Swiss Army udder. Oh, sweet, sweet revenge." Gobyob Badmash, the Dark Contaminator, gazes blissfully at his assistant and sighs. "Oh, Snurch, I think I'm in heaven. I shall take the chicken myself." Scene 2. Krazy Kow is in the bath singing. She's covered in foam and is trying to scrub her back with a long-handled scrubbing brush. "Scrub-a-dub, cow in the tub, there's an udder in the tubber, rub-a-dub-a-dubber." It isn't the best song Krazy Kow's written, but she seems to be enjoying it. Outside the bathroom door, Gosforth heaves a sigh. She reckons she's been waiting outside for hours. She sits down and leans back against the wall. She twists her head and shouts through the keyhole. "How much longer? Would you rather the world is saved by a clean cow or a dirty one?" Krazy Kow shouts back. She juggles the soap, a bottle of shampoo and the nail brush, and carries on singing. "I am the shiny, shiniest cow, dooby-dooby-doo. My public want me shiny, 'cause I'm the biggest moo. Moo, 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 moo." Bromley suddenly comes pounding up the stairs 3 at a time. "Red alert!" he yells. "Telly's on! Red alert!" Krazy Kow scrambles to her feet, which is very difficult when you're a cow and you're in a wet bath with slippery sides. "Don't panic!" she yells. "I shall be there in a whiz." She flings a towel around her body and almost falls down the stairs. Sound effect of clattering down the stairs. "At last!" moans Gosforth, sneaking into the bathroom and locking the door. Scene 3. The downstairs television is going bananas. "Meep, meep, meep, meep. This is the International Emergency Help Somebody Do Something Quickly Committee. There's a major fire at the world's biggest rubbish dump, Switzerland. It won't be much longer before an entire mountain of methane gas explodes, which will, in turn, send thousands of tons of burning rubbish flying through the air, which will, in turn, start fires across several countries, which will, in turn, set countless cities ablaze, which will, in turn, kill millions of innocent people, which will—" "Okay, I get the picture," yells Krazy Kow. "There's yet another pollution disaster in the making. I'm on my way to the bathroom and beyond." Scene 4. Krazy Kow races back upstairs, clatter, 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 only to find the door locked. She hammers upon it. Bang, bang, bang. "You're too late," yells Gosforth. "You've had your go, it's my turn now." "But Switzerland is about to go up in flames, and only I can save her," cries Krazy Kow. "Tough!
Don't you care about all those people out there?
Nope.
Don't you care that 1,000,000,000 tons of rubbish will be spread across the globe?
Nope, I'm having a bath. Sound of splashing. Outside the bathroom door, Krazy Kow sits down with a frown. She mutters.
Children are so thoughtless these days. But of course, the downstairs toilet. Why didn't I think of that before?
Clatter, clatter, clatter. Scene 5. The cow shoots downstairs and vanishes into the smallest room. She pulls on her cape and diamante mask. She brushes her teeth and combs the chunky bit between her ears. She slaps on some lipstick and squeezes out through the window. And with a whiz and a pat and a supersonic bang, she is on her way to Switzerland.
Like a rocket into the blue, she's black and white, she's crazy moo. Dooby dooby doo, diddly diddly dee, diddly dum dee diddly dum, whiddle diddly dee, etc. This is the new #1 hit, the KK theme tune. Scene 6. By the time Krazy Kow reaches the rubbish mountain, the fire has truly taken hold. Crackle, crackle, crackle. 1,000 water cannons are arrayed in a great circle round the edges of the dump. Behind the water cannons stand 1,000,000 onlookers who can't resist coming to stare at the disaster that's about to blow them all up. Swiss Army General Flambe gazed upon the roaring flames. "She's going to blow any second. It's a good thing you are here, Krazy Kow." "Oh, I try to help where I can. What bothers me, General, is that there seem to be too many of these pollution problems taking place around the world. I'm beginning to think that they may have been started deliberately."
Astonished music. Da-dang! The huge crowd turn and stare at the cow in disbelief and shout in chorus, "Deliberately!" Even more astonished. "Wang! But what kind of evil villain would do a thing like that?" "Me!" cries a huge slug-like figure jumping out of the shadows. At least he would have jumped if he'd had legs, but he hasn't, so he doesn't. He sort of slippy slides instead. "Dooby dooby dum dum da." "And who are you?" demands Swiss Army General Flambe. "I am Gob-Yob Badmash, the Dark Contaminator, Prince of Pestilence and Plague Master." "And I am Krazy Kow, the Big Moo," cries our hero. "Take that! Splam! Biff! Blat! Bash!" "But what's this?" Gob-Yob doesn't bat an eyelid. "It's no good standing there making silly noises, Krazy Kow. I'm not frightened of you." "Really? Well, I shall soon change your mind. Flob splob." Krazy Kow spins her udder menacingly and fixes the criminal mastermind with a narrow-eyed glare. "You're not the least bit terrifying," insists Gob-Yob. "No? Then how about this?" Krazy Kow suddenly sticks both hooves in her mouth and pulls a horrible face, sticking out her big pink tongue as far as she can and shaking it violently. And still Gob-Yob doesn't budge. Instead, he calmly opens his cloak of darkness and pulls out what looks like some kind of mechanical chicken. "Do you know what this is, Krazy Kow?" Peck, peck, peck. "Cock-a-doodle-doom." Krazy Kow takes a step back, her eyes bulging. She swallows hard. "Surely it isn't. It can't be. Not a..."
"Yes, exactly. Krazy Kow, your last hour has come. It is time for you to meet Nuclear Reactor Chicken. Dun 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 dun.
In the pink. I went to bed thinking, it's a new day tomorrow, it'll be a good day. I haven't had a good day for ages, so it's about time I'm going to meet Cookie Savage and everything is going to be brilliant. There was a loud, despairing wail from downstairs. It was so awful that everyone in the house rushed to see what it was. Mum was standing in the kitchen speechless. She'd just opened the washing machine and found all the stuff that Kat and I had bunged in there for cleaning the day before. Remember all the strawberry-stained stuff? It came out clean all right, but it was no longer white. It was pink. All those mashed-up strawberries stained everything that went into the machine and turned the whole lot as pink as a strawberry milkshake. And that included Matt's one and only football kit, and the county football trial was the next day. Big Bro was going to have to wear a stunningly pink football kit. He was not a happy bunny. "Can't you wash it again?" Matt pleaded. "I could, but this kind of stain will never come out. I'm sorry." "I shall look totally stupid," scowled Matt. He would too. "You'll be fine," said Mum. "Did you know that parents lie to their own children? I'll give it a good ironing." "County selectors won't be looking at your football kit," Dad pointed out helpfully. "They'll be watching you for your football skills." "I'm going to look so stupid," Matt repeated. Gemma came downstairs. I hadn't seen her smile since that little problem with Justin and the video, but now her face lit up. She patted Matt on his head, and he shrunk away from her, as if she was putting a jinx on him. "That looks nice," she said brightly. "Getting in touch with your feminine side, are you?" "Gemma," hissed Mum, "do you have to?" "Do I have to what? I said it looked nice." "Yeah, but that's not what you meant," snapped Matt. "How do you know?" Gemma and Big Bro eyeballed each other. "Because it looks daft," I ventured. They spun round and glared at me. "Who asked you?" Big Bro spat out, whilst Gemma looked at me as if I was something unspeakably horrible. So, I thought, she's still not speaking to me. "We've had enough from you," Dad put in, "and now I found all 4 members of my own family lined up against me, scowling." "We've got a busy day ahead tomorrow," snapped Dad, "and we can do without your help. Matt's got a very important trial for the county team. It's his big chance." I watched them fussing round Matt, and I thought, OK, it's about time everyone knew my little secret. "As it happens, I've got a busy day too," I said. "Dwight Trellis and Cookie Savage are coming to the school to see my film about Krazy Kow, and I'll just repeat that for you. My film about Krazy Kow." Dad stopped in his tracks. "Dwight Trellis, the United winger, coming to see you?" I nodded. Just for once, I had actually managed to impress my dad. Gemma shook her head as if she couldn't believe it either. "Cookie Savage, the film star, the real Cookie, coming to see you?" I nodded again. At last Gemma had spoken to me. "They're visiting the schools which have submitted the best ideas for that competition I told you about ages ago when you weren't listening." I watched their astonished faces. I was getting my first taste of fame, and I couldn't resist pushing it further. "Cookie Savage thinks Krazy Kow would make a good film. She wants to be in it." OK, so maybe I was beginning to exaggerate, but it was the look on their faces, you see. They were so surprised. I loved every minute of it, every second, every silly millisecond. I wanted it to go on until their eyeballs fell out of their heads with sheer amazement. I had to tell them exactly when all this was happening. Dad reckoned he was going to come up to the school to get Dwight's autograph. I said I could get it for him, but Dad wanted to see the great United winger with his own eyes. "The football trials will be over by the afternoon," said Dad. "We can all come up to the school." Gemma said she wanted to see Cookie Savage, and as for Mum, she wanted to see both the stars turn out. At that point, I forgot all about exaggerating things, and reality began to kick in. My whole family were going to turn up at the school so that they could see Dwight Trellis and Cookie Savage watching my film. What film? So far, all we had were a few shots of Krazy Kow being chased by mash men wearing bin liners, who were being chased in turn by what looked like gnomes in pants. The film footage finished with Gloria Bevinson trying to stuff the great cow superhero into the infant toilets. It was not exactly the sort of film that makes a Hollywood blockbuster. When Mum dropped Big Bro and me off at school the next day, neither of us were very happy. Matt was in his pink football kit, and I was wondering how on earth I was going to impress Cookie Savage. I wasn't bothered about Dwight What's-His-Name because he was a footballer, but Cookie would have the sort of contacts I needed. She'd know film directors, producers, other film stars. She could be really useful to me, so I had to make a deep impression. I winkled out Kat and told her everything that was going through my head. "It's going to be a disaster," I moaned. "Everyone will think it's rubbish and they'll be right. It's going to be okay." I gave a hollow laugh. "Oh yeah, like Cookie Savage is going to be so impressed by a pantomime cow that can't act and little kids dressed up in bin liners. I'm going to tell Mrs. Drew to stop filming and bin the lot. Then I can explain to Cookie Savage how it would have been if it had been done as a cartoon." "But you can't just throw away everything you've done already," Kat shouted. "Listen, if a great film director shoots some bad stuff, he doesn't show it to the public, he bins it, right?" Kat was silent for a while. She shook her head. "How can you do that? How can you destroy the best thing you ever invented?" Eventually she lifted her head and gave me such a look. It was as if someone had switched off all the lights inside her. I hadn't realised until that moment how much energy and enthusiasm she'd been passing on to me. I didn't realise until I switched it off. I shrugged. The whole project's falling to bits. Seems like running away to me. Krazy Kow can't even waddle with those two idiots inside her. I don't mean Krazy Kow. You're the one that's running away. Things get tough and you run away. I thought you wanted to be famous. So? Another shrug. "It's your big chance, Jamie. At least have a go at it. If you don't have a go, you've got no chance of success. At least try." "It's too late," I muttered. "It's finished. I'm finished. We're all finished." Kat got to her feet and looked down at me. "I always thought I was the smallest person in our class. I was wrong. It's you." She turned on her heel and walked off, leaving me with my eyes fixed on her back. I was so confused. I'd never really thought of Kat as a friend. I don't think I'd thought of her as anything, really. But now, all of a sudden, I desperately didn't want her to go. I hurled myself after her and caught up with her, panting. "Okay, tell me. What do we do?" "You're the director," she said simply. "Give directions." I began to smile. Of course! This whole thing had been going wrong because we'd been trying to film Krazy Kow the way other people wanted it, and in particular the way Mrs. Drew wanted it. It was time to do it my way. It was too late to start making a cartoon, but maybe there was still enough time to film a really good episode with the pantomime cow. I just had to make sure that only the actors in the film knew what we were planning. "We need loads of action," I said. "And explosions," shouted Kat, and all her lights came back on. "We can use the zip wire on the Air Cadets training ground so that it looks like Krazy Kow's really flying through the air. Yeah, and she can be firing her Swiss Army udder. Yeah, and we can have gallons of fake blood everywhere. And horrible screams," cried Kat. We grabbed each other and did a little dance. "It's going to be awesome," we chorused. There was a stifled giggle from nearby, and I looked up to see Rebecca watching us. Tom Hardy was standing behind her. "Look, Tom, 2 little lovebirds," Rebecca teased. He sniggered. Kat turned a deep red and stared at her feet. "Just ignore them," she whispered through gritted teeth. But for once, I didn't want to ignore them. I slipped one arm round Kat's shoulder, pulled her closer, and kissed her. "Only on the cheek, I'm not mad." Kat looked up at me with an enormous smile, while Rebecca and Tom's mouths dropped open and all their brains fell out. They were speechless. It felt like... You know what it felt like? It was as if I'd just walked up to a 2-headed dragon and chopped off both heads with a single blow. Swish! It was dead and gone. Forever. Kat and I turned and walked away from them. I still had my arm round her. Things were going to be okay after all. "12 Stars and Stuff." Things were going to be okay after all. And then again, maybe not. It wasn't difficult to persuade the cast of the film to take part in the new idea. In fact, they thought it was brilliant and their enthusiasm was catching. I began to feel more and more that we were going to be successful after all. I could almost smell that Oscar for Best Director, and maybe another one for Best Screenplay. I got everyone into a huddle and we talked things through. We must keep Mrs. Drew out of the way so that she doesn't interfere and spoil everything. We also need a special effects department. We need blood and we need weapons that can be fired through Krazy Kow's udder. Can we have a crashing car somersaulting across the playground and bursting into flames? This query came from Kingston. He's got a good imagination, but he gets a bit unreal sometimes. I don't think so, Kingston. Oh. How are we going to keep Mrs. Drew out of the way? Asked Wayne Ribble. Good question. You can be in charge of that one, Wayne. I thought, nice one, Jamie. Pass the problem back to the person who thought of it. Me? Wayne looked worried. Yeah, you and Kingston. Now Wayne looked even more worried, but Kingston was already on his feet. Great, we can tie her up. Yeah, we can tie her up and stick a bomb on her head. Come on, Wayne. That got those two out of the way. Carl had turned white. He doesn't really mean that, does he? I burst out laughing. Don't be stupid, you know what Kingston's like. Anyhow, Wayne will keep him in order. OK, so what's next? Kat had some suggestions. I've been thinking about blood. In films, they use fake blood, yeah? That's easy. We can make up some sloppy red paint. But the fake blood is usually put in capsules or something. How do we do that? I grinned at everyone. We fill balloons with the fake blood and stuff them up our clothes, and when we burst them, the blood'll come oozing out. The others looked at me and Kat as if we were superstars, and of course we were. Well, almost. Weapons? This came from Carl. Leave that to me, I said. I was reckoning on phoning Mum at home and getting her to bring my ping-pong gun and water cannon to school. Carl was looking mystified. What I can't see is this. Martin and me are inside Krazy Kow, right? If we slide down the zip wire, how are we going to grip the runner handles? Our hands are inside the costume. Then you'll have to stick your hands out to hold on, I said. Won't that look odd? Not if I film it from the right angle. That's what they do when they're making a film in Hollywood. You film it from an angle that doesn't show what's actually making it work. Like when cars flip over. They use a metal prong that springs up under the car and flips it. But they don't film the metal prong. They just film the car itself flying through the air. Carl looked at me happily and nodded. I went on, the only thing is that there's only one runner handle for the wire. That means you'll both have to hang on to it. Martin had been frowning hard for the last 5 minutes. He was obviously brooding on something. So I have to hang on to the runner handle with 2 hands, and I have to fire the guns through my Swiss Army udder with my other 2 hands. What other 2 hands? Demanded Carl crossly. You haven't got 4 hands. Exactly, Martin agreed. The 3 of us gazed at each other. Martin had a point, and it was an awkward one. Kat came to the rescue, and she asked Carl if he thought he was strong enough to hang on for 2 people. Yeah, I think so. It won't take long for us to reach the ground. OK, then. Suppose we put a rope harness round Martin and tie the rope round Carl's trouser belt. Martin can hang there inside, leaving both hands free to fire the udder guns. It was such a good solution that we just sat there, smiling at each other. We were going to make this thing work. Cookie Savage is really going to wish he was in our film, I grinned. By the time lunch hour arrived, the whole school was in a state of high excitement. Everyone was awaiting the arrival of the 2 superstars. In the meantime, the special effects department had managed to knock up a tub full of fake blood, made with crimson powder paint and water. The weapons had arrived too. The school secretary was slightly surprised when Mum turned up with a delivery of water cannons and ping-pong bazookas, but when Mum said it was for the film, the secretary assumed that it was Mrs. Drew who had asked for them. Everything was set. The guests arrived. I never expected Dwight Trellis to be so tall. When you watched a United game on telly, you could see him whizzing about the place, leaping into the air, heading the ball and so on, but the TV didn't give any real idea of his size. He must have been over 2 metres. He towered above everyone. There were kids all round him, clamouring for his autograph. Dwight stood there with a huge smile, merrily signing away and chatting to them all. There was another seething mass of kids surrounding Cookie Savage. Now that I could see her close up, I realised that she was truly beautiful. She was glamour on legs. "I can't breathe," she kept saying. "Give me a bit of space, will you? I need space." Yet another piece of paper was thrust under her nose. "What's that, toilet paper? I can't sign a teeny bit of scrumpled rubbish like that." Cookie suddenly screeched at the top of her voice. "Proper autograph books only. I refuse to sign diddly scraps of paper." 100 children groaned. "Please, Miss Savage, we haven't got proper autograph books. We've got clean paper, look." Cookie Savage stood firm, folding her arms across her chest. "Autograph books only." One by one, the children drifted away from Cookie and joined the throng round Dwight Trellis instead. He was still going great guns, scribbling his name across anything that moved. "He signed the plaster on my broken arm," said one kid. "So, he's done my shirt," said another. "He signed my head," cried Wayne Ribble, and it was true. Wayne had recently had one of those everything-must-go haircuts that had left him bald and shiny. Now he had Dwight Trellis written across his skull. Mrs. Drew and the teaching staff appeared, and they began to impose some sense of order on everything. The head teacher called me over and introduced me to Cookie Savage. "Hell's bells, I've never seen so many kids," muttered Cookie, and Mrs. Drew gave the film star a sharp look. "It's a school," she said. "Never seen so many," repeated Cookie, almost as if she was frightened. Mrs. Drew pushed me forward. "This is Jamie Fink. Jamie is the one who invented Krazy Kow and all the other characters." "I'm very pleased to meet you," I began, holding out my hand. Cookie Savage kept her arms folded. She didn't even look at me, but gazed round behind her. "Is there any food? My agent said there'd be food." Mrs. Drew kept smiling. "Jamie also had the idea of making a film instead of writing an ordinary story or an essay. It was clever of him, don't you think?" "It wasn't just my idea," I said. "My friend Kat helped me." I smiled across at Kat and beckoned to her to come over and join us. Kat hurried over, looking rather red with embarrassment, as usual. "She's a great fan of yours," I added. "Kat?" Cookie Savage looked mildly astonished. "What kind of a name is that?" Kat's face fell. She couldn't think what to say. The film star laughed. "What's the matter? Kat got your tongue?" Cookie screamed with laughter and looked at each one of us to make sure we all realised how clever and funny she was being. Mrs. Drew smiled back at the film star. "Where did you get your name from, Cookie?" And that was when I saw my first real superhero. That was when Mrs. Drew suddenly turned into fearless headmistress woman super wonder creature. Cookie Savage snapped a glare on Mrs. Drew. "What?" she asked icily. "You were saying that Kat was an odd name, and it made me wonder how you got to be called Cookie. As you can imagine, we come across all sorts of names in a school, but we've never had a Cookie." Kat had her teeth and lips clenched together firmly, so did I. We were desperately trying not to laugh. Luckily we were saved at that moment by the arrival of Matt and Tom, along with Gemma and my parents. Dad bellowed across the playground. "Dwight, I'm your biggest fan!" Dwight Trellis gazed across at my idiotic father, running across the playground, waving his arms like some great big child. "Can't be my biggest fan," Dwight shouted back easily. "I've got fans 4 times as big as you." They both fell about laughing, while Dad shoved some paper into the winger's hand for signing. Gemma had come up rather shyly to see Cookie Savage. "This is my big sister," I said. Gemma gave her a curtsy as if Cookie were the Queen, and like me she held out her hand. Cookie ignored it. "You're bigger than the others," she observed. "I'm older," said Gemma, as if that weren't obvious anyhow. "Why are you still at this school, then? Are you thick?" The film star looked around once more. "My agent said there'd be some food." Gemma was stunned. Her eyes had that look in them, the kind of hopeless blank stare that you see on the faces of people whose dreams have just been wiped out by a few casual words. Mrs. Drew bustled to the rescue once again. "Let's move over to the film set. That is, after all, what you have come for, to see some of the filming take place. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it." As they went, I noticed a pink figure hanging around the back of the crowd surrounding Dwight Trellis. It was Big Bro. I'd been so busy I'd completely forgotten about the football trial. I groaned inwardly. He was going to be so big-headed now. He was going to be insufferable. I went over to him. "How did it go?" I asked. "How do you think it went? I was the only pink footballer there. I didn't make the team. Now shove off!" "13. The greatest film ever." "You didn't make the team? Look at my poxy football kit. Are you surprised? What about Tom Hardy? Did he get picked?" Matt grimly shook his head. I asked Big Bro if Tom had been wearing a pink football kit too. "Of course he wasn't. I was the only one," Matt thundered back at me. But I held my ground. "You always said Tom was better than you," I pointed out. "And if Tom didn't get chosen and he wasn't wearing a pink kit, then the pink kit had nothing to do with it. That's all I'm trying to say." Matt fell silent, but I could tell he was still seething, so I left him to it. There was nothing more I could do there. Anyhow, I was supposed to be over at the training ground by now, shooting the film. I raced back across the playground to join Mrs. Drew and the VIP party as they headed for the filming area. The secretary came bustling out of the school, looking very flustered. It seemed as if there'd been some kind of emergency phone call. Mrs. Drew would have to go and deal with it. "I'm so sorry to leave you all," Mrs. Drew apologised. "I'm sure the children will look after you. Jamie will explain what we're doing, and I shall get back as quickly as possible." This was obviously part of Wayne and Kingston's plan to get the head teacher out of the way. My heart lifted. Everything was going just right. I walked along between our two visiting superstars, wondering if some of their fame would fall off them and land on me. "You wrote this film, did you?" asked Dwight. "Yep, the whole thing was my idea." The footballer pursed his lips thoughtfully. "I wish I could write. I'd love to write." "Why don't you?" I asked. "Me? I'm a footballer, me." "That shouldn't stop you writing," I said. There was a snort from Cookie. "Anyone can write, that's what I think anyhow. Just let your imagination roll, like a film going on inside your head." Dwight frowned. "Yeah, maybe you're right. I should have a go." He paused and looked down at me from his great height. "Thanks," he added. "Thanks?" Dwight Trellis, the United's ace winger, had just said thanks to me. There was another snort from beside me. "Be surprised if he can write his own name," muttered Cookie under her breath, obviously thinking that nobody could hear. Kat and the others were waiting impatiently beneath the zip wire. Carl and Martin had already climbed the big oak tree and were on the platform. They stood there inside the cow costume, ready to start. "Have you got the weapons?" I shouted up. There was a muffled reply from inside, which I took to mean a yes. "Does everybody know what to do?" Nods all around. "In that case, let's do it. Here come Dwight and Cookie. Kat, you take them over to the chairs and sit them down while I set the camera. Everybody else, wait for my command." Kat led the protesting actress to her seat. "Where's the cushion?" she demanded. "They don't have cushions," Kat told her. Cookie eyed Kat suspiciously. "I've seen you before somewhere. Aren't you called Dog or something?" Kat ignored her and showed Dwight to his chair. Behind the stars, the teachers, my parents, and Gemma settled into their seats. The big footballer beamed at everybody. "This looks good. I've never seen a film being made before." "Have you all got a cushion?" Cookie asked him, and he shook his head. "No cushions," muttered Cookie. "No food. It's a disgrace." I could hear everything the film star was saying, but I tried to ignore her and concentrate on the film. This was make or break time. It had to be really good. And I was sure it was going to be 1 billion times better than anything we'd filmed before. I shouted to the cast, The mashmen ready? Ready! Krazy Kow? No, yelled Carl. Martin's cut his arm on a branch. He can't do it. Why is it always like this? Why is it that things always go wrong at the very worst moment? My brain struggled desperately to think of a solution. I felt Kat push past me. I'll do it, she muttered, and before I could say anything, she was halfway up the tree to join Carl. She grinned down, gave me a wave, and a moment later she vanished inside the back half of the cow. "Okay," I roared. "Action!" Inside the cow, Kat swung from Carl's waist. Carl reached up, gripped the runner handles, and launched himself from the platform. The roller wheels hummed and picked up speed. At first, Krazy Kow seemed to wobble, but then down she came, looking utterly glorious and fabulous, shining in the bright sunlight. Martin let off a burst of fast-tempo music from the sound system. Then the mashmen appeared, running across the grass towards Krazy Kow, their black bin-bag capes flying behind them as they hurled themselves into battle. Kat got to work with the ping-pong bazooka. All at once, Krazy Kow's udder had something sticking out of it. "I am the Big Moo!" roared Carl, while Kat leapt rip and ping-pong balls went whiz-pip in every direction. Some of the mashmen gave blood-curdling yells and fell over as if they'd been hit, bursting their balloons and squirting fake blood everywhere. Kat swapped to the water cannon, and suddenly a steady jet of ice-cold water was sprayed everywhere. Splat! It hit Dwight on the chest, and he toppled backwards, so that the whole of the row behind got plastered. Mum, Dad, Gemma, and all the teachers. Slop-a-dop! It splattered across Cookie's face. She was so shocked that she stood up, slipped on the wet grass beneath her feet, and sat down again. Unfortunately, her chair was no longer there, and she ended up on her backside in the mud. She struggled to get back to her feet and was met with a hail of ping-pong balls. Ping-a-pop-a, ping-ping-pong, pip-a-pop-a, ping-pong. At this point, Krazy Kow suddenly gave a dreadful cry and split in half. Carl's trouser belt and his trousers had given way under the strain, and Kat fell to the ground a short distance below. Meanwhile, Carl, wearing a cow's head on his top half and his underpants on the bottom, carried on merrily swinging down the zip wire until he finally came to rest on the ground. He immediately set about splashing back through the pools of fake blood in his bare legs to where Kat was still firing ping-pong balls into the air. Carl grabbed his trousers and tried to put them back on, only to fall into yet another pool of blood. This last bit of the action had been watched in almost silent horror by everyone, except Cookie Savage, who was still struggling to rescue herself from the mud and a million ping-pong balls. Every time she attempted to raise herself, a leg or an arm would suddenly slip from beneath her, and she'd be flat on her front or back or side or bottom. And then Dwight Trellis started laughing. He stood there like a happy giant, chuckling at everything around him. He was in stitches. He bent double, and his laughter rang out across the training ground. Cookie Savage at last managed to get to her feet. She was plastered with mud, and she promptly made matters worse by trying to brush the worst away.
"Where is the head teacher?" she screeched. "My lawyer is going to hear about this. Fetch me the head teacher at once."
Cookie began to stride back to the school. Kat and I hurried after her, with Kat trailing behind, trying to free herself from the remains of KK's back half. "It wasn't meant to be like that," I tried to say.
"I have never been so insulted."
"Things got a bit out of hand," I mumbled.
"A bit out of hand? They were off this planet," screamed the actress. "And as for you," she squawked, turning on Kat, "you fired that thing at me deliberately."
"My hair got in my eyes," said Kat with a completely straight face. Her hair doesn't even reach her eyebrows, let alone her eyes. By this time we'd reached the school buildings, and Cookie made straight for Mrs. Drew's office, her high heels making a machine-gun racket on the wooden floor. Kat and I trailed miserably behind. Cookie didn't bother to knock. She burst through the door, still shouting, and instantly fell silent. Sitting behind her desk, tied to her chair, was Mrs. Drew. Strapped to Mrs. Drew's head was a packet with red writing on it in big felt-tip pen. It said B-O-M, bomb. Sitting on the floor next to Mrs. Drew was the school secretary, also tied up, and lounging on a chair watching them, with his feet up on the desk, a big grin on his face, and chewing a pencil like a cigar, was Kingston. "How's it going?" he asked cheerfully. 13 and a half. Time to tidy up loose ends. There was an awful lot of shouting from Cookie Savage, and even more rushing about from Cat and me as we untied Mrs. Drew and the secretary, and some more shouting from Cookie again, and then Mrs. Drew asked for an explanation. So I told her everything. Her face began to take on that expression that warns you that things are about to turn into a ton of bricks and fall on you. But halfway through all this, Dwight Trellis, the front half of a pantomime cow, and a bedraggled crowd of blood-stained onlookers arrived from the filming. "It was fantastic, Mrs. Drew," enthused the United Winger. "The best thing I've seen for ages. I know it all went wrong, but at least they tried. And I want to tell you something. When I was at school, we were never allowed to even think about doing something as ambitious as this filming idea of yours. I reckon you're running a top team here, with top kids, judging by what I've seen today. You should all be proud of yourselves." Beside him, Cookie was desperately trying to draw breath. She was so shocked at what she was hearing, she couldn't even bring herself to speak at first. But she eventually found her tongue, and then she began. She went on, her voice getting louder and louder and higher, until she was squeaking away like some demented rat, listing one complaint after another. Dwight waited until the film star had finished, and then told her that she was completely missing the point. "Everything you've complained about has been about you," he said. "It's all you, isn't it? That's all you think about. We've come here to judge a competition which is about saving this planet from people like you, people who only think about themselves. You are the most wretchedly thoughtless person I have ever met. Every one of these children here is worth 100 of you. Even him." Here Dwight pointed at Kingston and gave him a huge wink. Cookie stared at the footballer, gobsmacked. "You don't like me, do you?" "You're dead right there," agreed Dwight. "And I don't suppose anyone else does either." Cookie slumped into a chair and burst into tears. Great gulping sobs filled the head's office. The rest of us quietly slipped out and closed the door on her. Only Rebecca stayed behind. Remember her? She now seemed like someone from a distant dream way back in my past. Rebecca stayed with Cookie, crouching at the film star's feet and patting her knees. "I think you're wonderful," Rebecca crooned. "I'm going to be just like you." I'll cut out most of what happened after that, but as you can probably imagine, there was a lot of sorting out to do. Mrs. Drew came up trumps. She said she understood what I was trying to do, and that although she couldn't say that what Kingston had done was the right thing, she applauded his enthusiasm. And that's a lot more than I would have done if he'd tied me up and strapped a pretend bomb to my head. I would have killed him. Of course, it was the end of all the filming and the project. We never did get it finished, and we never won the competition. But I discovered all sorts of things, and one of them was this. Sometimes you meet people who you don't expect to be nice, but they are, like Dwight Trellis. And sometimes people can look nice, but they aren't. No names. And then there are other people, Cat, for example, who doesn't look like anything much, except perhaps a small, half-asleep, slightly scruffy moggy, but are really nice inside. And the totally weird thing is that when you realise how nice someone is inside, they begin to look beautiful on the outside, after all. A couple of days after the film disaster, I got a package through the post. The label on the outside said it was from Awesome Film Productions, Hollywood. Was it the contract? I could hardly bring myself to open it, but I did. I pulled out a thick sheaf of paper and recognised it at once. It was my film script. They were returning it. The letter they included simply said they didn't want it, and it finished with, "We wish you success in the future, but please don't bother to send us anything more until you're grown up." When I read that last sentence in their letter, I felt as if all along I'd been playing in a pink football kit. It made me think a lot about Big Bro. I want to tell him I know how he feels about failing. Do you think I'm strong enough? Shall I tell him? Maybe. Of course, Awesome Productions are probably the most stupid people in the whole world. Can't they see how good Krazy Kow is? I don't know how long I sat there reading their letter over and over again, but it was the last straw. There didn't seem much point in going on. Still, you're probably wondering how KK is going to escape from Gobyob, Badmash and Nuclear Reactor Chicken, so read on. The end. Krazy Kow's last battle. The final scene. Krazy Kow stares in horror at Nuclear Reactor Chicken.
"How did you know my secret?" she asks in a horrified whisper.
"I'm afraid Wormley Spottiswood is not as loyal as he appears to be," smiles Gobyob. "A little bribery, it didn't take much, and your secret was ours."
"But if you explode that chicken, it will not only destroy me, but it will kill us all. You will set off a chain reaction that will destroy the whole planet."
Horrified gasp from crowd.
"Oh, I know," said Gobyob.
"It will kill you too,"
Krazy Kow points out.
"I know," says Gobyob. "That shows you just how evil I can be. Short-sighted, but evil."
Secretary Snurch presses himself forward.
"Excuse me, I didn't know."
"Too late now," Gobyob cries.
"Say your prayers, Krazy Kow."
Krazy Kow turns to the huddled onlookers.
"Listen up, everyone," she moos. "This is what I tell you. I am the big
bang!" And they all died. Oh dear, what a pity. The end. So there you are. That was the end of Krazy Kow. She was a good idea while she lasted, but it's time to move on to better things. You see, I've had this amazingly brilliant idea for a film. It's going to be fantastic, 1,000,000 times better than Krazy Kow. Kat and I are working on the new film together. Kat says we can use her dad's camera. It's all about a terrifying race of supermodels who come from another planet called Cookieville, and the world can only be saved by a superhero called Danger Goat and his sidekick Atomic Elephant. I'm going to call it Invasion of the Monster Models. It's going to make me famous. People will recognise me in the street and they'll say, "Wow, there goes Jamie Fink, the film director and multi-millionaire. I can't believe I've met Jamie Fink. Can I have your autograph?" And I'll say, "Sure, have 3. And if you ask nicely, I'm sure my friend Kat here will give you hers too. And we don't mind doing them on diddly bits of scrumpled paper either." I haven't given up at all. I am going to be a great film director. Just you wait and see. This audiobook was produced and published by Penguin Books Limited.